Yes, everyone, you know what time it is. It's your boy Jack here at the Irish Hotspur, here to deliver a fan show, bit of a post-match fan show because after last night it ended a bit late, and I knew that there would be probably a lot of people that want to have their say yesterday, but we're going to make up for it and do it this morning. So I'm going to just kind of get through the topics, get through the chat, and we'll get straight into it because we do have a lot of people in the queue at the moment, which is good to see, but I do wish it was under better circumstances, let's be honest, because we have a lot to talk about, plenty to talk about. We have to talk about last night's game, how it all went wrong, maybe what portion of blame do you give to the players? What portion of blame do you give to Conte? Is it entirely on the players, do you think? Is it entirely on kind of the howlers that we've been seeing from players like Hugo Lloris? Dyer, Longley actually had one. We haven't seen, I think, a big error like that yet from Longley, but it does also maybe highlight that they did go for that cheaper option instead of going for the real quality sort of left-sided center back of like a Gvardiol or a Bastoni or someone like that, which is, I don't know, like it just was really a night that reflected kind of all that was going wrong for sort of Tottenham Hotspur. And just then maybe gets you on to the bigger questions, maybe moves you on to those larger, deeper questions, which are, where do you kind of go from here? Do you back Conte? Do you stick with him, and do you hope that the board can somehow maybe find it within themselves to actually change their act and change their bad habits and stick with a manager instead of using him as a scapegoat? Or do you just go for a total restart and you just say, you know what, screw it, get the board out? And that would be ideal for plenty of people. Get the manager out, get all the players out, just, a huge factory reset. So basically, that's kind of the two kind of premises today, basically, is of course, I know everybody wants Levy and Enoch out at the moment, but when it comes to the, decisions that maybe could be made right now, right, today, would you back Conte, or would you maybe just sack him and, get rid of a lot of the players and just go for that total restart? Basically, let me know, everybody in the chat, if that makes any sense, or if I also kind of detailed it or explained it correctly. Kind of the other topics here as well. Carragher, I kind of took a quote from him yesterday, I believe on Sky Sports. Of course, we don't like to listen to him too much, but I think he did kind of reflect a lot of what maybe Spurs fans are feeling at the moment. He said he's got those great, I think referring to Conte here, he said he's got those great attacking players, but his goalkeeper and defenders are nowhere near good enough for a Conte team to be successful. And that's where they've got major problems. And this was sort of kind of spoke about last night, is like, should maybe Conte move away from the back three because it just doesn't seem to be working for these sort of defenders. Maybe the tactics are too extreme or too complicated for them. It's just kind of, I think, starting to become where it's just too many excuses, where clearly this back line, clearly the defenders he has at his disposal just aren't obviously good enough to be able to be a top four team really under any manager. And another thing too is I feel like Antonio has gotten actually more of a tune out of the likes of Eric Dyer, Ben Davies, Doherty, Sessegnon, players like that than really any other manager of kind of my memory. I don't really feel like Pochettino. He had his moments maybe with Eric Dyer, but especially as a center back, I don't really recall him being able to get the most out of Dyer in the way that Conte did last season. And then also when you look at the likes of Ben Davies, like Ben Davies has been able to make that transition a left-sided center back. I never really ever rated him as a left back for us, but he was able to, kind of be saved, you could say, more or less by Conte and kind of moving over there. Doherty was an atrocious signing by Hitchin under Jose Mourinho because he doesn't even use wing backs. But then when Conte came in, it kind of made that Doherty signing actually get a bit, a bit of life, or, a bit of a fresh air, if you will. And I don't know. It just seems like Conte, I feel like, and also the same thing with Sessegnon. Sessegnon was a bit of a dud of a transfer, I think, under Jose Mourinho, and then he was kind of able to give him a bit of a, breathing, a bit of time, a bit of, extra sort of faith from Spurs fans. And so I just also feel like that needs to be highlighted, is that Conte actually has brought the best out of a lot of these players that have caused, the huge howlers of this season, the Dyer, the Sanchez, players like that, Doherty, Sessegnon, players that are really, at an all-time low this season. He's actually gotten the best out of, I think, in my opinion. And so that really just speaks to their levels and why they just absolutely, in my opinion, have to go. And I think Carragher is kind of saying that, is that in order for Conte to be successful, he has to have a much, much better backline in order for his tactics to really come through, in order for even his football to even look, I think, a bit better. But maybe you disagree with me. Maybe disagree with me. Do you blame Conte for the second half disaster, or is it all on the players' individual mistakes, i.e. Lloris, Dyer, Longley, and then Perisic? I think also a lot of people kind of thought had a pretty poor display last night. At least defensively, they thought he had a pretty bad, just pretty bad game in general. And I can't really disagree with that. And then, like I said, kind of in the title today, would you back Conte? Do you stick with Conte? Do you just kind of, are you tired of getting rid of the managers and kind of putting them as the scapegoat? Or do you feel like with Antonio Conte, maybe it's just his heart's not in it anymore? Perhaps Spurs have just crushed him and there's just kind of no hope of him really refinding that love or that passion for us, or for kind of the really hard job that it is, being the manager of Tottenham Hotspur. And he's not even like the manager, like you said. He started to make those quotes kind of like Pochettino, where he said, I'm not a manager, I'm a coach. I don't have say over the transfers, things like that. And so is he just kind of been broken by Spurs? Is it just kind of enough is enough? And, we've broken him and it's just time to move on and get someone else in that's willing and brave enough to take on this job? Or, do you want to continue to back him even through the tough times? Let me know, everybody. Or would you go for that total restart like I kind of, premised earlier as well? And then also, does Fraser Forster have to start versus Fulham? I hopefully the answer is yes. But also maybe kind of a side question is like, do you blame maybe Conte for picking Hugo last night? Hugo made absolute howlers. Don't get me wrong. You have to start there. But then when you kind of go further up the ladder with Fraser Forster, like, should he have just gone with him like in that Man City game? I mean, it's a big, big call. Fraser Forster, we all know, is not exactly, the most convincing of keepers, but I think he would probably do most of the basics that Hugo just simply isn't doing right now. So let me know on that. And also, does a bit of that fall on Conte for not going with Fraser Forster last night? But it's also a tough decision because he is also the captain of the football club. And Hugo apparently has had some sort of, I don't know, interview or something recently where I didn't get to catch all of it. And I didn't really want to catch all of it because I've heard it's quite, it's quite sad that he just basically is defending actually his form right now. And I think he just called it due to a lack of mental freshness or like something like that since the World Cup. It's, I don't know, strange behavior from Hugo. Strange behavior from Hugo. Trossard to Arsenal and Noni Madueke to Chelsea is the other bit of news here. Trossard, of course, I guess we threw a 12 million pound bid or something like that. And they had a 27 million pound bid, I think, accepted by Arsenal. So it just shows that we were just lowballing basically the likes of Brighton. And they didn't want to budge and waited for someone else to throw a more serious offer. And Arsenal have gone after him. And also, I think maybe came from the fact that Mudryk went to Chelsea and then they were like looking for a cheaper option. And that cheaper option was Trossard. And that was actually, I think, quite a clever deal by them as the sort of backup to Martinelli. And then Noni Madueke going to Chelsea is also, I think, just more sad news probably for Spurs fans. Also kind of highlights the fact of how we've treated kind of the younger players in the past, that we've had absolute dross players in the first 11 that just continue to get playing time. And players like Noni Madueke, Marcus Edwards of the past, and other young players, like even right now, like Brian Hill and Papa Matasar, sort of feel like, how am I ever going to get into this first team when the manager never even gives me a chance, doesn't ever give me a look? And also the players in the first 11, they probably even feel like are better than or should be, kind of, given, time. And I don't know. It seems like, we've gotten it wrong with the younger players in the past that have left and gone on to other clubs and have done quite well for themselves. And then to see Noni Madueke, one of our own, go to Chelsea, it's just, I don't know, sickening at this stage. And also, if you have time and even the stomach for it, feel free to talk about, Paratici's apparent call for a 20-month suspension by an Italian prosecutor over in Italy, and whether there's any, I don't know. I don't know when it comes to Paratici. Just let me know what you think, everybody. I don't want to come up with any theories anymore at this stage. I don't want to come up with any theories. Big up, though, everybody. I'm going to get to the chat here. Welcome all in, but there is plenty in the queue right now, so I do got to get to them and make the best use of their time here. I don't want to make them wait too long. Big up, John. Levy and Enoch out. Sign a new contract. Conte won't sign a new contract. Bring someone in now. Kind of agree. They also just got to make a decision, John. They just have to make a decision. Ben Rowley saying back him. I like it. George Hill. I admired Hugo for being a servant of the club, but the recent interview of his was my final straw with him. A leader of men doesn't make sorry excuses the way that he did. Joke of a captain. Lloris out. I completely agree, George. I haven't even able to catch all of that, but I saw like kind of the main quote was basically that he defended his form, and then he just attributed, if he did take any blame for it, he just called it like a lack of mental freshness, which is just pathetic for me, George. Just pathetic. Paul Markey, tired of subpar performances by players, but more so the inability of senior management to change the squad out. Woolwich streets ahead of us on the pitch and in recruitment. I am done. Yeah, it's just not a good season ball. It's starting to feel like a write off at this moment. Simon Cohen, afternoon. Good to see you, Simon. Mark, probably plenty of people might raise their hand. Good to see you, my friend. He says Inter defender Milan Skriniar has agreed to join PSG next summer. Yeah, I don't think Spurs fans should have gotten their hope about that. I think like 6 months ago, it was quite clear that he was making his way to PSG. It's just way too much flirtation between him and that club. It was quite obvious he was headed there, a long time ago, at least if you sort of looked at, the reports. Big up Mojo Matsi, Jiu-Jitsu boy. Good to see you as well. And Neil Hartley, hopefully all is well. Claude Murphy, good to help. Good to see you, my man. So much pain over this club. I can't take it no more. I mean, believe me, I think we're starting to get a little numb to it at this stage, Claude. It's getting that bad. And also, I feel like North London Derby defeat was already bad enough. You think that would ruin your week. And then the next day, it's like what the transfer saga is just not going anywhere. You also then get, the Trossard news. That doesn't make anything easier. Believe also as well, we had the Harry Kane news of him probably, leaving this summer. It's just, I don't know. And then, this defeat last night, it's just I feel like each and every day we just haven't had, it's just somehow gotten worse, or somehow we just had to deal with extra blows, it feels like, Claude. I'm sorry, my man. Big up, Phil. Good to see you. Afternoon. Spurs are not the right fit for Conte. He's a manager that needs quality, ready-made players that fit his system. We don't have that. Spurs only suit a project manager because of these owners. It might be a sad truth, Phil, and they only seem to get along with project managers as well, ones that are a bit of yes men too. Phil, if you want to come on, my friend, feel free to do so. Plenty in the queue, and I'll make time for everybody today. Everybody, I'm willing to stay as long as you need. For people that want to come on, because we didn't do a fan show last night. Good to see you, Killian Gubins. Hi, Jack. You're a great person. Love listening to you. And David Legends. Big up, Killian. Really appreciate it, my man. Chris Sess was a Poch signing. It's also a Hitchin signing that just really has only been, kind of made to look better by Conte, but still, like, just looks absolute dross at this stage. Big up, Peter Spillane. Go for a restart from one right through. Big up. Go for a restart from one right through the. I don't even know what the rest of that says, but big up Peter. Yeah, he's going for the restart. Big up, my man. ESPN and Talk Sports pundits saying it's a good squad. I don't know about the Talk Sport pundits, because I'm pretty sure I saw Gabby saying that he would pretty much, hand deliver Hugo back to France, and he would hand deliver Emerson back to Brazil. So I'm pretty sure Talk Sport were being a bit more brutal, but ESPN, I'm not. I'm probably not surprised when it comes to that. Wow, Dermot, thank you very much, my friend. I'll thank you later when you come on, brother. But he says this is for you and Dave. Have a beer on me, Jack, and Dave have a Coke on me. I think the Coca-Cola I once recognized. The club I once recognized is gone. It hurts me to see the club I love in this day. Conte looks broken. Players, again, letting him and us down. I miss the good old days. I miss Spurs. It feels like we're reaching a state, Dermot, where a lot of people are just being broken by the club. They've been either broken by the owners, they're being broken by kind of the style of play and the football that they're seeing right now, which is maybe a bit of Conte, but also just the players at this moment that are just not good enough to be wearing the shirt. Another thing as well is that I feel like just a lot of things of recent where Spurs fans got to see that progression under Pochettino. We went to that Champions League final. They kind of were kind of sort of, I think a lot of us kind of were all maybe to a degree, mostly kind of behind the club, kind of saw maybe where we were going, sort of kind of saw the plan, if there was maybe a semblance of one, or at least we had an idea of what sort of how the club was being operated. But then once the stadium was being built, once COVID hit and everything, it's just been, I don't know, just so many sort of kind of, underhanded backstabs and like things like that that have just sort of kind of just made us go backwards, and just a lot of bad habits and a lot of just also bad decisions that have been made in the past that have maybe crept up on us. I think, like I've said before, the signings of Steve Hitchin have come back to haunt us, and also as well, maybe the recruitment department that has been completely revamped and redone, which does show maybe that a reason for why even when we did spend money, even though we don't spend very much money when we have, we've gotten it mostly wrong. And so we've had to revamp the whole department as well. The whole recruitment department. It's just not in a good state, Dermot. And then also when you look at, like I said, the style of play and the type of football that we're playing, it's not the type of football that, I'll be honest, a lot of Spurs fans recognize, or a lot of Spurs fans are familiar with. I think that's more a condition of the players. Like, I think Conte has time and time again shown that his sides can score a lot of goals. I think his Inter side scored plenty of goals. His Chelsea side scored plenty of goals. This Spurs side scored plenty of goals last season as well as this season. And it's just the defense that's just letting him down. And it's just painful to just, get up for these games. And, it's just painful to just expect us to, lose each and every one. And I think people are just getting numb to it all, Dermot. But I'll speak to you later about it, brother, and really, really appreciate it, my friend. Really do appreciate it, brother. But Dave will be back soon, everybody. Don't you worry. Dave will be back soon. T.O. Isaac, good to see you. Conte, he wants to keep him and back him. Big up, T.O. Good to see you. We are in complete shambles, says the multi-channel. I think plenty of you would agree. Good to see you, Lee Richards. Mark, hopefully you're okay. Sebas Wolf, good to see you, my friend. And he says, and Arsenal signs another player this morning. Yeah, they signed a center back, and I think we could use one of those too, Sebas. So again, it's just more punches in the gut, more punches in the face. I just don't really know how it feels like each and every day, Sebas. It's just gotten worse and worse, and just don't know how it's just getting comically bad at this stage. It's like I said, getting numb to it. Just getting numb to it. I didn't know if he joined. That'd be ridiculous if he joined Fiorentina because I don't even know how that would make any sense. We should be going after Indica if that's the case. Mojo Matzi. Steve D. Styles make fights. Sometimes the best don't win because it's just a good fit. Ali struggled with Norton, but that doesn't mean he wasn't the greatest. Conte is a good manager in the wrong club. And I know, Steve, that's kind of the crux of where you sort of stand with Conte is that it's not that he's a bad manager. It's not that he's an idiot or anything like that. It's that he's just not at the right club under the right circumstances, under the right sort of support to be successful. And you're probably right. I don't know, maybe the glutton for pain or sort of the optimist in me likes to think that Conte is sort of the one that can change this club. And Conte is the one that can sort of save us from kind of this spiral that we found ourselves into. But Steve D, I think it's a point that you've stuck with for a very long time. That's probably still true to this day, or becoming more true, should I say? Big up, my man. It's good to see you in here. Good to see you, Derek, as well. Hopefully all is well, my man. Still call all is good. Hopefully you're keeping well. Matthew King, good to see you. Back him. Let's actually give the manager time and players he wants. A lot of people are saying back him. Not a lot of people are going for the full restart. Felt like yesterday on the yesterday on the post match, a lot of people were kind of going for the full restart. So let me know in the chat those who want the full restart, those who just want to get rid of Conte, get rid of all these players and just kind of start from complete scratch for the most part. Let me know, everybody. Big up Mark New. So important to back the Harris Army in these challenging times. Restart needed from top to bottom, but don't rule out a late charge for glory in the Champions League. Mark New wants that restart and he wants Pochettino back, if I'm not mistaken. Big up, Mark. I'll be speaking to you later, my friend. Paul Markey, no such thing as a project at Spurs, as projects need funding. Enix pockets are as tight as a duck's arse underwater. Business asset management company only. Paul, another thing too is how many restarts and how many rebuilds have we undergone only to kind of just scrap them up halfway and just go to a new one? And it's another thing is like, can we really trust us to really do a restart when we've done other restarts before and have not been able to fully go through them? And Pochettino even needed that restart, right? He needed to kind of just get a new semblance or new set of players, needed to get a lot of players out, and they just didn't want to do a restart with Pochettino. With the likes of Jose, they didn't really want to do a restart. They were kind of just like, let's see if he can do something better with the same set of players. Nuno, I didn't even know what that really was, just like stopgap, really, and also maybe some sort of restart. They tried to at least PR campaign it as some kind of restart. Then you look at Conte as well, and I just don't know how many rebuilds, how many restarts can we go through and keep scrapping them up halfway? Would they actually stick with one this time? And the evidence suggests they won't. And like you said as well, the projects, these, sort of rebuilds, they actually require funding. They actually require there to be money behind it and also there to be a clear plan. That's another thing with Spurs right now is people just don't believe there's any clear plan whatsoever, as well as there being no money behind these projects. Also, there being no clear plan either. Good to see you, Paul Wiley. Good to see you, Simon Gibbons. Hopefully you're keeping well. Wayne, hopefully you're doing okay, my friend. Mark, good to see you. Robbie Keane is in the house as well. And then Steve D, restart. He wants the restart, sacrifice European places and build. But that's wishful thinking with the squad that we have as well, since it's just looking so just threadbare because of injuries, but also just because of how, let's be honest, how shit we are right now, Steve D. You would sort of think that European football has sort of, I don't know, like I want to be in European football. I don't care if it's a distraction or makes us worse because it's nice to be in European football, but it's, maybe part of the reason for why we also got into top 4 last season was getting knocked out of the Conference League in that sort of way and everything. And it's also a reason why I think Arsenal were actually challenging for top 4 last season was because they didn't have European football. And even this season, maybe the reason why they're doing so well also in the league is because they're in the Europa League, which isn't really like, yes, it kind of is strain on your body, but it's not as challenging as the Champions League. So I don't know. It's just, but what the easy answer is just give Conte the players to be able to succeed in both competitions, or at least be able to manage both competitions, when it comes to workload and all that stuff. So big up, Steve D. And good to see you, Paul Van, as well. Hopefully you're keeping well, my friend. But everybody, I'm going to get to the first guest of this afternoon. Please hit that like button while you're in here. Keep getting your comments in to ask the guests anything that you like, and also as well, please just keep supporting the channel during I think a pretty rough week as well. It's going to be a pretty rough week, and let's get through it together. But the first caller of this afternoon is going to be Mia. Hello, Mia. How are we?
Not too bad.
You want to talk about last night? Talk about the picture, with backing Conte or doing the total restart. What do we do? Where do we start?
Yeah, it's like the morning after the night before, right? That's what it feels like. It feels like we're doing the walk of shame.
So many walks of shame this week, though. I feel like I've done 2 or 3.
Yeah, it does feel like that. It's just, Joe, what? Again, it just... So, Joe, what? It's so disappointing because I'll tell you why. Because what did I say to you when we spoke? I said we're going to get a thumping. Now, I would actually rather it ended 4-0. Do you know that? Because those 2 goals gave us hope. See how we started off? That gave us hope. And that was the biggest problem because we got hope. And we were like, oh, okay, this is obviously, I always said it was dangerous. Like I even said it in a message. I was like, second half with little eye emojis because I just know that like the second half is with the 2 goals isn't always, it's not a given, especially with City. But us scoring those 2 goals was like poking the bear. Basically, we poked the bear just before half time, before they had a chance to get it together. If we would have scored those 2 goals in the second half of, like, say, the end part of the second half, I think it would have been different. So what we did was the worst thing possible. We poked the bear and then sent them in to get a right, telling off from their boss. So that was the worst possible thing. And I wish we would have just lost 4-0 like I predicted it. We're going to get spanked. I'd rather it been just.
Were we
4-0.
deservedly, if we didn't score those 2 goals though, would it have been deservedly 0-0 at halftime? Would you have said?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people feel like he got the tactics sort of right, Conte, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that first half, I'm going to be honest, I don't think that first half we were awful. I think actually we were actually pretty good. Normally we just literally stay in our own half and have absolutely no opportunities. But I didn't think that it went like that at all, really. It felt like we were getting hold of the ball. We had some chances, and also they were making sloppy mistakes as well. They were giving the ball away, and they weren't really attacking like they normally would. So it gave us a bit more of an opportunity. And when you look at the stats for the possession, it was actually nearly only they had like 52 or 53%. So it wasn't like we just like let them have all the possession, all the ball. We actually did have the ball. So I don't think it was actually like one-sided in that first half, especially like that first half. I think I don't think it was awful. I think we came out, showed a bit of fight, and we showed a bit of passion. But then as soon as they scored those 2 goals, our heads dropped. And those 2 goals, like the first goal, what an absolute mess. What a mess that was. Like we were just what were we doing? The thing is, either Lloris calls for it or the player calls for it. You're both going for it and leaving the ball just there, like scrambling for it.
I don't know. Like it's just sort of, I find it maybe more to be on Hugo because it's that sort of thing where it's like, if you do leave your 6-yard, your 6-yard area like that, if you do kind of lunge out, like you just have to win it. Like you see other keepers, right? Often what even happens is when they do that and they get it a little bit wrong, they kind of just take everyone out. Like they sort of, pile driver, like bulldoze their way through and just sort of take everyone out, even their own player, if need be, in order to kind of punch it out. And like, he takes it away from Emerson's, to opportunity to clear it. And I think Emerson probably would have either had a block shot there, or he looks like he's just going to poke it away or something like that. Probably would still be in danger, but Hugo eventually just leaves an open net there. So it's just kind of like when you're leaving an open net, I think it often kind of does fall on the keeper there, I think, in that case, because, it's up to you whether you want to abandon the line. And he
Yeah.
abandoned the line and, didn't, end up working out for him. And so I also, because if I recall, I think Emerson sort of, not saying he had it covered, but not to say that he didn't either, right? It felt like he sort of maybe was going to put on a block, or like I said, he was going to deflect it or poke it away or something too. So it's not even like Hugo needed to get involved.
I wouldn't really say that it was like mainly Emerson and for a change. I did think it was Lloris, but it was just the way it happened. And you're just like, one of you just do something instead of just like, the way that Lloris came out, like you say, left the net empty when Emerson looked like he probably had it covered. And it's just, it was just ridiculous. And obviously then once that second goal went in, our heads completely went. Our heads went, you could tell. And I knew they were going to come up with that third goal. And that third goal, again, he should have done better. It was just like, how did he not save that goal? How did he not save that goal? I just can't. I watched it more than once and I still can't figure it out. It's a bit like me trying to figure out, pie charts and like, what's the the complicated maths that we did at school. I'm looking at it confused. I'm like, I don't understand how you did not save that goal. So 2 of those goals were mistakes by Lloris.
I just don't but this stage, man, it's not even the worst one he's made this season. It probably falls like third or fourth down the line. That's how sad it is. And also, I think someone mentioned it's like with Hugo, the defense before was like, well, he makes these great saves, that keep us out of games. It's like, it's not really the case anymore. I think he's not making saves and he's not good with his feet. He's basically become like a League One standard keeper, I think, now at this stage. He really has, and where he's not really excelling in any department of goalkeeping. And he's not really a leader back there either, as we can tell.
No,
too. So not. I just don't really know. It's harsh, but what am I supposed to compliment him with at the moment, apart from, as people say, the years of service that he's given us? But there's nothing else I can really compliment.
And his wife's quite pretty. That's what I can compliment him on.
He keeps his beard lined and his hair, I guess, he's always looking good, Lloris. But I don't know, I think does it fall on Conte, also as well though, for playing him, maybe because you have to go further up the ladder. Does it fall on Conte for playing him?
I think that it's got to be multi-layered blame. I just don't feel like there's ever just one person really to blame, because Conte should have known better and should have swapped him out and put in Forster. But I do, he's the captain, so I think that obviously swayed it for him. If he wasn't captain, I think Conte would have changed him. I've got a feeling that he would have. But because he's captain, I think that he just didn't want to drop his captain, which I think makes him look like he hasn't got the guts to do it. And I think you, as a manager, you need to have the guts to do something like that. And I hate to go back to it, but look what Arteta did with their best player, Bamian, at the time, one of their top players. He gave him he got bad attitude and he got rid of him. He was like, nope, actually, see you, I don't want you here. And I think, and they have done things in the past to sort of say, right, okay, this isn't acceptable. And that's what you want from your manager. And Conte just doesn't seem to be doing that. And I don't really understand why. He should have the guts to just say, I know you're our captain, but you need to do better. I take you out the limelight for a bit. You've not been playing well. Nobody is undroppable. Nobody. That includes Kane. That includes Sonny. That includes anybody to me. But it doesn't seem to be that way with managers. They seem to just not do that, and I don't really ever get it. So for me, yes, it is down to Conte, and Conte should have played what I suggested when we spoke. I think he should have played either Kane or Richarlison in the midfield and had the two at the front, and then have someone who's more creative in the midfield. So then you're not using the wingers so much and not relying on the wingers to give you that creativity. And that way we would have been better. Not so it wouldn't be like that overcrowded in the midfield by the other team. So for me, I think that would have actually been a lot slightly better. And
People
drop
criticize
Son.
Conte, in fact, for keeping Son on the pitch. Do you agree with that
Yep,
as well?
I
Like,
agree. Yeah, I wouldn't have played Son. I would have played Kulusevski, Kane, and Richarlison. I would have put them three on, and then bring Son on, because if Son, he needs to be out of, like, he needs to be sat down. Look what happened last time with Leicester. He came on and scored 3 goals because he did not like being sat out. If you know you're going to get every time, right? If you just go to a shop every day and you know you're going to get the biggest chocolate bar, you're not going to bother to try, are you? You're just going to be like, sweet, I'm going to get the biggest chocolate bar anyway. I'm not going to behave myself for my mum. I'm just going to get the biggest chocolate bar regardless. Like, that's what it's like. Like, that's what it's like. You just think they've got no, like, drive to try and do better because he knows I'm going to get picked anyway. So, it's fine.
What did you make of kind of what I brought up too, though? The fact that I feel like Conte has actually gotten the best out of a lot of these players that are letting us down, like Dyer. I know Davies is seen as a bit of a steady Eddie, but he really still shouldn't be here. The likes of even, Sanchez, etc. They're all still like kind of around. Doherty, Sessegnon, and those sort of players. Like, he actually, I think, saved most of their sort of like careers at Spurs. I mean, I think they didn't deserve to stick around anyway, but he kind of gave Spurs fans hope that, maybe they were like usable, or they were kind of capable of turning it around and things like that. And now I feel like, I don't know, it's like their Conte powers, have, worn off or something like that. Like, it feels like that the influence he's had on them is somehow worn off. And it's like, is that Conte's fault or is that the player's fault?
The problem is that you can only, like, put glitter and perfume on a turd for so long before the glitter falls off and the smell comes back. So I just think, what's Conte supposed to do with Dyer? Like, what is he supposed to do with him?
Do you think his quotes last night were kind of hinting at that sort of thing too? He referenced like, you can buy experience, and then he also did say like, I've never conceded this many goals like in a half before, and like, all these sort of kind of things that he doesn't like to say it outright, but it felt like he is starting to.
Yeah, no, I think he's trying to, like, give little hints, because obviously, again, we've spoken about this before. If you call out players outright and then you go, actually, I want you on the pitch and playing for me, that's not going to really work. So he has to tread a little, probably carefully, where he's trying to criticise, but maybe in a more like a hinty kind of way. But yeah, the thing is, they're not good enough, and we know they're not good enough. And although he got a tune out of them last season, this season we can see it's not working because they're not good enough. All the glitter and the perfume has fallen off the turds. So, that's what's going to happen.
And I don't think there's any glitter. I don't think he can re-glitter it either. It's not like, you could re-glitter.
No, there's no more
glitter
glue. There's not enough glitter glue in the world to glitter them back up.
Well, because we can only be fooled once by it as well, by the fans, right? Like, a lot of us were fooled that, these guys were, maybe good enough to be top 4 under Conte and things like that. And over the summer, right, Dave, really went, very, very, he was adamant that defense needed to be upgraded, regardless of people's confidence in that defense. He said they will crumble, and look where we are now as well. Like, they have that glitter has worn off, and a lot of us maybe just didn't anticipate, that glitter wearing off, or maybe we forgot that the glitter was there in the first place.
No, I think a lot. Anybody who knew. I think, like, fool me once. You know what I'm saying? Fool me twice. That's what they say. Like, you can't be. I think that people weren't fooled. I think that people just thought, oh, Conte's actually getting a tune out of these guys. How comes? Like, I think there's probably more bewilderment than anything else. Because I was quite bewildered as well. The fact they were doing okay. I was thinking, what happened?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's worn off, and they're not good enough, and we need to reevaluate. We need to reevaluate, because I'd rather put some. Now I'm at a point where just put some youngsters on, just chuck them in. Like, we can't keep carrying on this way. We just can't. But Conte is stubborn, and it's the whole thing. See, like with Spence, he's stubborn with Spence. Oh, when Sessegnon came on yesterday, I was in despair. I was like, why is he bringing Sess on for? Why? I know he's the speed of him, because obviously I think that it was hard, wasn't it, down that wing, because it was, that we were getting over, like, keep getting outrun basically. However, I was just like, why Sessegnon? Seriously, are you for real? Like, he just, after that North London derby, but then I'm like, what other options? He could have switched it around basically, but he just won't. Like, to me, I think he could have switched it around a little bit And so then it wasn't like that, but he didn't. So that's the other thing. I do think Conte is to blame in some sense. Like, there is blame, I think, to be put everywhere. I think the finger needs to be pointed in several places. I don't think it is just one. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't.
Yeah. What do you think? How do you fix it? Back Conte, total restart. What are you thinking, Mia?
Do you know what? If it was down to me, I would want to back Conte, because I think that he is a good manager, and if he's backed, he does well. And these are facts, because we've seen him do well if he gets backed. So to me, that's what I personally would want. What's going to happen is just completely different. I think that if we had a total, like, if he doesn't sign the contract, then we do need to go for a restart, because I think that he can't just carry on being there, not wanting to be there. He's like, he doesn't really want to be there, and I don't want him there if he doesn't want to be here. And I know that means that maybe Kane will go, and I know people are going to get upset by it, but at the end of the day, we've sold Bale, we sold Modric, Berbatov, we've sold some players in our time that have gone on to be amazing players. So to me, I think that there has to be life after Kane.
Do you throw Sonny into that total restart as well?
Sonny, and Sonny. I think we just need to do a bit more of like a total restart and get those players out and really, really start again truly. But we have to also have patience. If we get another manager, you've got to understand patience, because people who say that Levy doesn't spend, it's not true. He spends, but they spend wrong. That's the problem. It's not about spending money. It's about doing it correctly, because there's other teams who haven't got as much money who spend correctly. It's about having the correct scouts and getting the good, like the players. That's what it's about. It's not about money, where people get it a bit conflated, like with the money with being good, because that's not necessarily so. Look at Newcastle. They haven't spent loads and loads of money, but they're doing very well, because you have to be able to spend correctly, have the right manager, and also have some patience. You have to have a bit of patience if that's going to be the case, because we can't keep going from manager to manager to manager. We all know that we have to go through a rough patch sometimes. When you're starting with a manager and giving him time, it's not going to work straight away. So you have to give them time. But I just don't feel like our fans are patient enough. I just don't feel like they would be. No matter who we get in, they don't want to be patient. So it's a bit like a non-win situation, because if Conte goes, the next manager, are people going to give them time? It's just,
but the other thing, that the lack of patience, though, just comes from the fact that we've just undergone all these different restarts and all these different rebuilds with different managers. And the manager just keeps getting broken. Like, wouldn't you agree that, like, this seems to be a club where managers just seem to be made to be broken? Like, we just seem to break them down physically, emotionally. They look like they aged by 10 years, at Spurs. Yeah,
I do agree. But when you look at it, Jose, I keep saying this, but Jose, so much of our fan base turned on Jose and they didn't want him. I'm not saying anybody personally, but there were a lot of calls for Jose to be out. So the fans want it, and then retrospectively, they complain about it and say, oh, but he was sacked. You said you wanted him gone. You can't say you wanted him gone and then retrospectively say that that's a problem that he did get gone, because that was, you wanted that. Do you know what I'm saying? People didn't want Nuno. So when he was gone, people didn't want him. So what, you wanted to keep him? None of you wanted to keep him. So now you're retrospectively saying, oh, that was bad. Do you know what I'm saying? I think that sometimes it's fine to keep looking at things in retrospect and then judging it, when at the time you wanted that manager gone. So at the end of the day, you didn't want to give Jose patience. Everyone was saying it was fossil football, it was rubbish. I want him gone. And then when now everyone's saying, oh, but Jose got sacked. But that's what you wanted. I just don't get that. Like,
it is a bit of revisionist, kind of. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
And that's not fair. Like, you can't live life like that and just try and judge everything retrospectively. So
would you agree with Steve D, though, who kind of makes the point that, like, Steve D kind of just only wants Conte out because he just doesn't think Conte is the right manager for this club, because we just have so many constraints that we put on the manager, so many different red tape and stuff that he has to go through to get things done. And It's always a process. It's always a project. Like, just Conte is just not a good fit for Spurs. That's why some people want him out.
I do understand that. I do understand that some people do want Conte out, and my brother's one of them. He wants him out as well because he doesn't like the style of football. But then don't afterwards complain that Conte's been sacked and say that, oh, but Conte's been sacked because that's what you wanted. Like, to me, I don't want Conte sacked because I think he's a good manager. If he's backed and wants to stay, I'd rather keep Conte and give him time and let him get rid of all other players that we don't want and see what happens. But if he doesn't want to stay, then I don't want him here. If he's not going to get backed, he should walk. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think
it does feel like if his heart's not in it, he should go. And I think that's the case with any manager, regardless.
That's right. Absolutely. So I think that's how we've got to try and look at it instead of trying, like I say, trying to go, oh, I don't like Conte's style of football, but they sacked him or he walked away, and that's it. No, but that's what you wanted. So, decide what you want. And that's what I'm saying about patience. If we get another manager in and it goes wrong, I think that people just need to have a little bit of patience in a way, like I do. But obviously it's difficult with people. I know it is difficult, and it's difficult for all of us, but we all love our club and we all want what's best for the club, and everybody's opinion is obviously valid, but this is just me personally, how I see it.
Where can they find more of you, Mia?
You can find me on Spurs Between the Lines. Actually, one of my videos got a copyright ID, so then it's not being pushed out. So after this video, if everybody could go and watch it and give it a like, I'd really appreciate it, because it's not being pushed out as much. And give me a subscribe. I do post regular, and I try to come across obviously as best as I can, but pre-recorded is quite difficult, so everyone's got to bear with me as I am just literally finding my feet with this whole thing. And obviously pre-recording is quite tricky. It's trickier than people think, because you've got to speak to a microphone and you've got to try and come across in a certain way to try and obviously get your point across, and it can be quite tricky. But I'll keep posting it, and obviously my opinions are out there for everybody to listen to, and I always have a good chat with everybody in the comments. So there's plenty of people who comment, and I always try and reply to people's comments and get back to them, or give it a like so people know that I'm reading all the comments. So I do try my best.
Yeah. Big up, me. And thanks for getting us started as well this morning. And a lot of people really appreciated this call. I think it was a great one to get started with. So Mia,
thank you.
Everybody head on over to her channel and show her some support, especially during the dark times as well. I think everybody deserves a little bit of love on the channel. But Mia, thank you very much. I'll be seeing you soon.
All right, speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye, Mia. All right, everybody, please check out that link there. I put it in the chat there. I'm going to put it in just one more time in case you weren't able to see it. It is there for you all to click the link and do show her some support. Hit that big subscribe button, and you'll check out Mia's content as well. And then also, Mia, I actually should have said this to you, but Frank Glass saying, I'm a sub on Mia's channel. Tried to watch a show, and it came up on private vid. Maybe that's what you meant by the copyright thing. I'm not sure, but big up Frank Glass, and it's good to see that you're checking out Mia's channel as well, my friend. But let's get on to the next guest of the evening. Keep getting the comments in, everybody. I'm going to bring them up on screen, and keep hitting that like button as well, especially if you've been enjoying the conversation so far, because it's a lot to unpack. It's a lot to unpack, but I think it's time for Daniel. He can't even breathe, it sounds like, Daniel.
No, I'm struggling to will to even care anymore.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
it is.
Is it just, you heard what I said earlier, right? Where it's like the North London derby was already a punch in the stomach, right? Then we had like the Harry Kane news with, maybe Spurs fans have to get used to life without Harry Kane. That's already a punch in the gut too. You have this Trossard news, Noni Madueke transfers and things like that. Then you have, last night's defeat. It's just like, and Pedro Porro still hasn't signed. Like, it's just, I don't know, like, Daniel, it just feels like you would think the North London derby was already hard enough, but it's just somehow gotten worse.
It just gets down. It's just on a downward spiral, and it never ends until we're in hell, basically. That's where our destination is, hell. And when the club burns. And that's probably what we need deep down. A burn house to rebuild again. That's probably what we need.
So let's get straight into the weeds here, Daniel. I mean, Are you sticking with Conte, or are you just scrapping it all up and getting everybody out?
I'm like I'm still like back onto, but it's starting to get toll me now. It's just starting to, because his decision making, his substitutions, and it baffles me how Lloris and Son and Dyer starts every single game and can't make mistakes. Apparently, they can't do anything wrong, even though they do everything wrong. You know,
Yeah.
it's
I know
just
what you're
not.
saying, though.
It's not sustainable, and we are going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
With
feel like
10th.
do you feel like with Conte, is he starting to maybe lose his sort of like, have Spurs broken him, you know? Like, if is he starting to sort of lose his passion for kind of the club? And it's not really his fault. Like, he's had a lot, you know, things not go his way this year. He's had some really close losses, you know, in his life, you know, with friends
Yeah,
and people who he's worked with. And he's also just, you know, had a tough year at work, you know, this year. It's like, is it maybe the case that his heart's just not in it anymore? And if that's, you know, the scenario, then you probably should just go then, you
yeah.
know,
Then
if
he
your
has
heart's
to.
not
You
in it.
just has to leave. Yeah, of course, he's commented after the game last night that if he was at Juventus Inter, he wouldn't accept this. That for me just says that. Well, why are you here then? Why do you accept it?
Yeah.
I'm just so confused.
What do you like last night though, Daniel? Did he get it tactically right? Like, did you feel like he kind of had the right idea with how he went about it? Or did the second half, like, did he do something wrong in the second half that made it all fall apart? Is it all on the players for the individual mistakes and the howlers? Like, can he prevent that? Like, how do you explain last night? Like, you know, do you give Conte a portion of the blame, or do you just kind of just give it to the nonsense clown, you know, players really?
Well, the first half was for me fantastic. I thought it was tactically
Yeah, I thought he
spot
got it
on.
right.
We hit it well, hit them on the counter attack, scored two scruffy goals, but still goals, you know. But the second half, he must have wanted to have a little glass of wine with Pep in the second half time, you know, because there was no team talk. It was like job's done. And then 8 minutes, we already 2-2. That's unacceptable. Should never happen to concede 3 goals that quick. Whoever you play against for a
Do you,
club of our size.
do you
But
think
of course,
some people made the point that like he's so brilliant at getting the team to rise up in the after the first half, and usually we find ourselves, you know, 2-0 down, you know, in the first half, and then this
yeah.
time we're 2-0 up in the first half, and it went the complete opposite. So like, you know, how do you explain that?
Well,
Can you
you
explain that?
can't. Yeah, you
And
can't
so
explain.
does he take some portion of the blame for that then?
Well, he has to because he couldn't have. What is the motivations to the players there in the, like half? Oh, you done some fantastic. Keep it up. At least say something. Just oh
Mm.
no, job's done. They're not gonna. Then they're gonna. You know, they're not scoring 2 goals. You know, that's what it feels like. And again, of course, Lloris with the mistake, and he sets the standards again. When he makes a mistake, it feels like everything crumbles after he makes a mistake.
But this is also what I mean, though, Daniel. It's like that fine balance of like, how much do you blame Conte, but then how much do you have to like, you know, make sure that the players also get, you know, their fair piece as well, you know, with the
Yeah.
blame, because like it's not Conte. Like Conte would save some of these, you know, some of the things that, you know, has gone Lloris's way. It feels like, you know,
Yeah.
some of the shots that Lloris has let in, you're just like, I feel like you could pick someone out of the stands and they'd be able to make that save. That's even my logic right now with Fraser Forster. It's not that I even rate Fraser Forster that high or anything. Like, I
No, no.
genuinely just think he could do. We're talking about the basics here at this stage. So it's
Yeah.
like, I feel like someone could step onto the pitch and do some of the basics that, you know, we're seeing Hugo not able to do. And is that Hugo? Is it Conte's fault that Hugo is collapsing in this sort of way? I'm not sure if it is.
Well, he's been collapsing all season and still fucking picks him.
Yeah,
So
and then
he needs to take.
yeah.
Come
Yeah.
on, fuck. He needs to see that you can't keep picking him because he's going to keep making mistakes. And how long can you go with that? To just I can make mistakes. I'm never going to be dropped anyway, so I don't care. I get my money. You know, big up Phil.
Big up, Phil. Big up, my man. But like, I agree with you though. Like with Hugo, like you were just like it's starting to become so painful these days that it's like he should also realize that like Hugo could even be costing him his job. Like he has to save himself by even not picking Hugo, if anything. Like I don't want to put it in those sort of terms, but you can't just keep picking Hugo and then we just keep blaming Hugo. Eventually you have to go further up the ladder of, and just realize who's the guy that's picking him. And it's like Conte, he doesn't have great choices, really in any position in the back line or goalkeeper. He doesn't have great choices, but he's just got to go with Fraser Forster. I think like it will cost him his own job if he doesn't, I think, because that's what I'm thinking is a lot of times like goalkeepers, like it's a different position as center back. I think it's like when a goalkeeper makes the mistake that Hugo's been making, like it changes a game. Like when you're parrying it into your own net in a North London derby, like you can't underplay that. You can't pretend like it's, it was gonna happen or something like that. Like that stuff just doesn't happen. Like and he's that low on confidence right now. And also as well, Daniel, I'm not sure, but did you see his interview? Apparently some people, are, speaking about how in his interview, he doesn't really, he's not, taking any blame or anything. Apparently he just, his only admission was that a lack of mental freshness or something, I think is what he said.
Lack of brain, more like cuckoo.
Lack of brain freshness.
Yeah, I mean, it's just cuckoo. It's just a complete brain fart here. You take some responsibility. You're the captain. If you can't, like, I can't save in your post shot. Are you kidding me? And big up Derek. And like, just the positioning there for the Maris goal as well. Like, he was stepped little aside, just go. It's just so incredibly hard to just
some of the goals that he's let in have actually just been like, even for like geometric angles, you're just sort of like surprised that they even get let in. But Perisic apparently didn't have a good game yesterday. Some people thought Perisic was kind of torn apart, in that game. Would you agree?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I didn't really get to pay too much attention to that because my mind was so many other places, But sure. But then again,
what do you make of that back line last night, Daniel? Dyer, Longley had a howler. Just I mean, it is a circus back there. It feels like.
Yeah, and Romero is starting to get influenced by them as well, because now he's starting to become poor, in my opinion. He's becoming more and more poor now, and that's because he has getting infected by shitness, basically. Fuck, man. The only positive is that it's Bentancur. He's the only positive thing right now.
Was he bringing the best out of Pierre last night? Like, I feel like Pierre, it made me then, it's two ways I thought about it, Daniel, where it's like Højbjerg, he looked a lot better when he had Bentancur next to him. But then you like sort of think to it, it's like, well, he kind of looked worse than Papa Matasar did in the North London derby. So you're just like, is it Bentancur right now that really is just that good that he's now just getting a rise out of Pierre? Or do you kind of just stick with Pierre? Because like, again, like he's just not playing to the level that he was in the beginning of the season. He was unbelievable in the beginning of the season. And he's not playing to the level that he was at the end of last season. At the end of last season, he was crucial to, some of those wins. And he was playing, I think, even better than Bentancur was at the end of last season. And I don't know, like, especially even one of the goals that sealed our win against Norwich. Like, he played that ball over the top to Bentancur. Then, Bentancur slides it to Kulusevski or whatever. And I don't know, like, it's just not, I understand Højbjerg's been a divisive player, but he is not playing even to the levels that I know he can play at. He's much worse than I know.
Yeah, he's been incredibly disappointing to see, because he was our best player before the World Cup. And to see him just being absolutely dog shit now hurts me to the deepest level. You have no idea how much it hurts me. But if he continues, then, you have to replace him.
I mean, Daniel, you and I are, commissioners of the Højbjerg fan club, and, President Ellie or Queen Ellie is a part of the fan club as well. And it's not good times, being part of the Højbjerg fan club. And like I said, I know he's better than this. And so that's where I agree with even people that don't ever rate him, even people that never liked him ever. I'm like, I can still agree with the fact that we're all sort of, we're all in agreement that he's just not good enough right now. He's not playing well enough to maybe even warrant he needs to even be considered being rotated, perhaps play Papa Matasar, next to Bentancur and see something different. I don't think Højbjerg was the problem last night, but he didn't do a whole lot again though to earn that respect back, if anything. I don't know. But
yeah,
Adrian Chia saying Klopp has sold 53 players. How many did Conte sell? I mean, to get rid of all the dross that Steve Hitchen has, crewed up over the time, we might need to sell 53 players. I'll be honest, Adrian. But this is sort of the thing. Like, do you trust, you can do a total restart, but do you do a total restart with Conte still at the helm, Daniel? Like, you keep Conte, but you get rid of Dyer, get rid of Davies, get rid of Sessegnon, get rid of Lloris. Like, you just clear out as many players as possible, but you still keep Antonio. Would you do that?
I would do that. But then you have to get the players he wants in. You have to listen to him and get exactly what he wants. Whoever what kind of age the player is, if it is like 34, I don't care. Get someone in that can do his job for him and can win us something. And then we have to wait and see after that.
Yeah. I feel like with Conte, for me, that's what I would kind of just go for. Is I agree that so much needs to be shipped out, but I kind of would, if anything, you destroy the whole foundations, you burn the whole thing up. I just say, just at least keep Conte safe and, keep him around. I just don't want to go through another manager. But I will at the same time concede, if Conte is not in it, like if his heart's not in it, if Spurs have broken him, like if we've broken him, like his passion and his sort of like all the stuff he's had to go through, and he's just not in it anymore, I have to accept that, and then he has to go then, because I don't think even if it was Pep or Klopp, like if their heart weren't in it, you would say the same thing. You'd be like, you know what, he's got to go then if his heart's not in it anymore, and that's the case with any manager.
Yeah, exactly. And if he does do that, and then the owner has to come out and do an interview saying, okay, after Conte now we're gonna do a complete rebuild. It's gonna take years, and I'll be fine with that. At least say something as well. Give me a structure. What's going on in the next years or so? But again, with these owners, I've said it for the longest time. We're not gonna be successful ever again with these owners. With Levy at the front, we need completely new owners. Someone who cares about the club, that can just do what, like a fan, be like a fan and just care. And I feel like that's the key to everything.
Adrian G is clearing it up here. He's saying, my point is that selling is as important as buying players. And I completely agree with you, Adrian, because we saw the benefit of that last season, right? In January, we got rid of Dele. I mean, look at how much that, how good of a decision that was, getting rid of Dele, right, Adrian? You look at Lo Celso, we got rid of Tanguy, we got rid of Winks. We were able to, or Winks, I think, had to stick around, I think, unfortunately, for the rest of the season or whatever it was. But, we got rid of a lot of players that were seen as just not, conducive to the dressing room. They weren't helping out the vibe around the club or anything. They also were a distraction, it felt like, to the progress Conte wanted to achieve. And that, we benefited a lot from that. It was almost like, new signings, like getting rid of players was like having new signings, because then we didn't have to think about them anymore. We didn't have to worry about them anymore. Exactly. And a similar thing, probably needs to be done January too, where we have probably 3 right wing backs we need to, think about getting rid of or, moving on. If we can get rid of Emerson, get rid of him, get rid of Doherty as well. And then maybe you keep Jet Spence around as like a future, backup or something like that. I don't know. That's probably what everybody wants. The center backs, you have so many you need to get rid of. If we get rid of Dyer, Davies, we then force ourselves to then have to get in new replacements, which everybody wants. I completely agree with you, Adrian. I think it's just as important to clear out players as it is to bring in players. And we brought this up before with Paratici, is that, we make the joke about how much cooking he needs to do, but the whole time he's also had to do so much cleaning at the same time. He's had to do so much cleaning at the same time. It's like he's got gloves on and a spatula. He's got gloves and a spatula on at the same time. But big up Adrian, my man. Big up Adrian. Daniel. Yeah, what were you going to say?
Where is he? I mean, where the fuck is he?
Yeah, what do you make of a Italian prosecutor calling for 20 months suspension of Paratici? Basically,
Oh,
that's
God.
and they've discovered I think a black book of like a financial kind of like I don't know. Basically, he had two separate accounts, is what they're accusing him of. At Juventus, he had an
What
account
the fuck?
where the reported gains and the reported profit was kind of manufactured to look a certain way, and then there was the real like sort of like books and everything. And supposedly after the Ronaldo transfer, they're saying they kind of inflated some things and kind of falsified some reports and stuff like that. He cooked the books, basically, is what it was. And I don't know, if anything makes him a don, I think cooking the books certainly makes him a don. But I don't know. It's I think that's what's happening right now, and it also could explain why we haven't heard anything from Paratici.
That's mad. That's probably why Levy got him, because he knew probably he had a suspension, and he can just, it's not my fault if something happens. Oh my God. It just, what a fucking club, man. Jesus.
Well, let's maybe end off with this one then, Daniel, and then I'll let you go. Wesley Johnson, big yourself up, my man. He says, big up, Jack. Struggling to even get my excitement level back up to travel from Colorado to London for the West Ham match. Big up, my man.
Yeah,
Bucket list to see Kane in the flesh. To what? A half-empty stadium, mid-table team with zero direction. It's unreal. I know what you mean, Wesley, because I think a lot of people are going to that Milan game, and some people kind of just feel disheartened to go to that now. And it just shows that that's how bad of a rut Spurs are in right now. Is some people just, even when they're seeing Spurs for like the very first time, or seeing Spurs, for only their third or second time, like it's still like they just aren't going into it with the same excitement that they normally would. They're not going into it with the same sort of passion and love for the club that they normally would. And that has to do with the ownership. It also has to do with, honestly, I think these dross players that as well, like so many people just don't want to see Eric Dyer listed in the team sheet when you make your trip all the way from Colorado to London. Like even when I go all the way from Brooklyn to London, I don't want to see Ben Davies at left-sided center back. I don't want to see Sessegnon at left wing back when I make that trip. I will lose it. And it's Dave, I think, has made trips before in the past, Wesley, where Harry Winks, all of a sudden was in the starting lineup next to Bentancur against Wolves, and they lose 2-0. Like it's pathetic, Wesley. Like, and it's sad to see that even people who, would do anything like yourself to go see Spurs are like feeling less passionate to do so because of the situation we find ourselves in. That's just, it's horrible. Like there's no other way around it. That's just terrible, my man. And also as well, like, sad thing too is like maybe one of your last times to see Kane, like Daniel, like this is some people's last time maybe potentially see Harry Kane's depressing stuff. It's depressing stuff.
Yeah, I mean, see Harry Kane playing, his prime football would be unreal to see in the flesh, to be honest. But that's, you don't know if you're going to get that. If I saw Dyer, Lloris and Sessegnon in live, God help me. I don't know if I could control myself. Might do something I would regret, because that is just a little straw for me. I cannot deal with seeing them live. Or
I feel bad for you, Wesley, but what I would say is the West Ham match is the Irish Hotspur derby. It's the Harris Army derby because of the rivalry we have with them on this channel, as well as just in general. So you'll be representing us. You'll be representing us, Wesley, and I see where you're coming from.
Have a good trip, Wesley.
Have a good trip, and I would say I can't tell you how to feel about the club or anything like that. It's your feelings, it's your opinions, but just find it within yourself, my man, to, still keep that, love, still keep that fire within yourself, that you still love it. And it's hard though, because they keep chipping away at it and they keep kind of breaking down, further, parts of your soul and, your attachment to the club. But keep it there, Wesley. Just keep strong, my man. Keep strong, my man, and appreciate your support as well. And it is unreal. Like you said, it's unreal. Like it's just going backwards way too fast. Backwards way too fast. But big up, my man.
It's got to be the lowest I've ever been, to be honest. I gotta say, for supporting Spurs. I just don't find any motivations anymore.
Well, Daniel,
hard. I'm glad I'm not playing this weekend. I gotta say, playing Monday.
You're glad it's a Monday instead.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it's
Lord.
come to.
Yeah. The little
Mm,
things. It's now become the little things. Daniel, any final words for us? Anything, over this weekend you're looking forward to or something like that? I don't know, Daniel. Any final words for us here?
Well, I'm going out of town actually for this weekend, so that's nice to get completely switched off. So yeah, that's the other. So that's fine with me. Completely switching off this football for at least 2 days.
I think you deserve that. I think a lot of us are probably quite jealous of that, Daniel, to be fair. And hopefully we don't get to see, any sort of worse Spurs news over the weekend. I'd actually love for it to
Oh,
just
that
be
would be
news silent. That'd be nice if it was just radio silent for if nothing's going to
switch
happen in the
off.
transfer market, nothing's going to happen. Just radio silence would be nice because the news just keeps getting worse. But Daniel, appreciate you coming on. Thanks for having a chat with me, my friend.
Always a pleasure, and take care.
Take care, brother. Hang in there, my man.
Yeah.
Take your mind off of things. See you soon, Daniel.
Yeah, now.
Catch you, brother.
Goodbye.
Bye. There you are, everybody. Pick up Daniel in the chat, please, everybody. It was a good chat with him, and not the easiest of conversations, and he's quite honest as well. Daniel is, so please, everybody, pick him up in the chat. But big up as well, Adrian Chia. It was a tough script that you prepared for us, Adrian Chia, and really do appreciate it as well, my man. But next in the order is Rufus. Here we are.
Hey mate, how you doing?
Niche gut.
Me too. Daniel's face just sums up my feelings exactly the same. It's just, I don't know. It's just like it's just so hard to take. We sort of like spent the entire of the summer singing, watching football on a Wednesday night.
That's kaput.
And it was just buzzing, and there was a really good feel, and then. Chelsea, we went one against Southampton in the first game. We went one down, and I just turned around and said, "Jacob," I said, "Don't worry, we'll do it," and we did. And then we robbed Chelsea, but after that, they've been paying performances for quite a while, haven't they? Do you know what I mean?
So where do you then stand on it, Rufus? Are you kind of just like, get rid of Conte, get rid of everybody, total restart, or do you want to get rid of everyone but keep Conte?
I don't think getting rid of Conte is a question. I think he's gone already in his head.
Oh yeah, you don't think his heart's in it anymore. You don't think his heart's in it.
I think it's a case of doing probably Levy, after paying so many compensation packages in the last 5 years, will probably let him go to the end of the season.
You do think we're just going to be then kept in sort of like purgatory, basically, with Conte for the rest of the season? Where
I seem to get that feeling.
That's even worse than Rufus, if anything, because what you probably think is you have two choices. You either just stick with Conte and you ride it out, give him that extension, give him further promises, of players, etc., or you just get rid of him, bring in a new manager that has his head and his heart in it, and you start again with him. Like, it feels like, but that one of those choices has to be made sooner rather than later. Like, they can't delay that decision for 6 months. Like, that's pathetic. Like, that would be pointless.
What you could do is sort of, at least in principle, have your next manager in place. Do you know what I mean?
In the summer lined up. I feel like they already have probably Pochettino lined up. I mean, he's playing golf with Mickey Hazard every weekend. So Pochettino is, I feel like Pochettino's ready.
What would you feel if he came back?
What would I do?
What would you feel if he came back?
Like, I don't really think with Thomas Tuchel or Pochettino, I don't really have any disdain for either if they were to come back. For me, Rufus, it's just more that it's just frustrating to see another, in my opinion, world-class manager come to Spurs and be broken by Spurs. And then you're just like, is it going to happen all over again with whoever comes next? Like Pochettino, you sort of think like he's been here before. He's kind of been stabbed in the back before as well. Like, maybe he kind of knows a thing or two about how Spurs operate. Perhaps he has a bit more, less naivete when going into it all. But also we have that feeling he's more of a yes man and might just sort of accept how Spurs run and how it's, all done. And that's not going to be good, because the reason we brought in Conte, Rufus, was to challenge the board, to challenge Levy and sort of change his ways, and for him to call them out and stuff like that. And we don't really know if Pochettino is going to do that. Another thing as well is with Tuchel, it's like, you would think Tuchel would do something similar to Conte, where he probably will demand players and he will demand investment, but he goes into it with that naivete that previous managers have, where everybody gets a clean slate. Probably Dyer sticks around, Davies sticks around, players like that, and Tuchel has to work with the same set of dross players that previous managers had to work with. So I don't know if I have any disdain, Rufus, for any manager that were to come in, especially if it's Tuchel or Pochettino, but it just sort of gets tiresome, like to just have to go through another project, another rebuild or whatever it is. Like, I just rather stick with the guy that we have, get rid of all the players first, and see if our guy actually has the tools, or, the skills to do it once he has the players, available to him.
I mean, I don't know. It's just sort of like, some of the I don't even know how genuine. I've been pretty busy with work recently. He was saying he wants a pay rise for a new contract. It's just like doing a shit job and you want a pay rise. I think he's sort of like setting things that Daniel Levy's never going to agree to, so that do you know what I mean? He's sort of,
yeah.
like
I kind of agree with Faz here.
Anymore. Do you know when you don't want a job anymore and you're trying to make the boss sack you in some ways?
I know. That's what they were joking with Brendan Rodgers right at the beginning of the season, that he was trying to get sacked. Faz Radfar, to summarize, this is what I kind of agree with him. The board should back Conte and replace all the dead wood. I kind of feel like you burn the house down, Rufus, but you just save Antonio Conte. Like, you just pull him out of the house fire, and that's the one person you basically save. Maybe Romero and a few players as well that, of course, we like at the club. But if you get that reference,
if I had to choose between Tuchel and Poch, I'd go for Poch, just because he knows what he's getting himself into, and he does quite work well with youth, and we're going to need that because it's going to be a factory reset, isn't it?
So with the factory reset, it's better maybe to do it with Poch, someone who's maybe had that experience also as well under Spurs. He kind of knows, how this is my thing. Does he benefit from knowing how Levy operates? Like, he's worked with Levy in the past, Pochettino, so he sort of has a bit of a better relationship. I don't know if anyone, that's a funny thing to say with Levy, because it feels like no manager has a good relationship with him, but he has a better shitty relationship.
Does anybody have a good relationship?
I don't think that's why it felt weird to say that out loud. So to caveat or to go back, like, of the bad relationships that Levy has with managers, maybe his is the best one.
Because there's no point in getting another Conte, because we've clearly shown we're not going to believe in the project or back it. Do you know what I mean? Well, we would as fans, but the board.
Yeah. What can you tell me about last night, Rufus? I mean, is it on Conte? Like, was it his tactics? Did he get it wrong? Did he get it right? Is it just the players just absolutely capitulating on their own in the second half? Like, how do you explain last night, if you can?
I can't. I can't. Jacob said he was to blame with the Loris error in the Arsenal game, because he came over to watch the game. We watched the NLD together, and when they were players in the tunnel, he's like, "Go on, Loris, don't have a shit game." I was like, "You and your big mouth." And then bam.
What do you make of? Is it Conte's fault though for continuing to play Lloris? Because as much as we're getting absolutely livid with Lloris, like, he does keep picking him, and eventually it feels like Lloris, it's like, you got to look at your own job, Conte. Like, Lloris could get you sacked here if you keep picking him. That's what I'm starting to think now. Like,
I think you're right, but the thing is, and that's it. At the end of the day, the team sheet is picked by the manager, so the manager is at fault for picking the players that he did. But also the players are at fault, because they did just capitulate yesterday. Like I said, I stopped watching it 2-2 because I knew what was coming. You could just see it. You didn't have a feeling that we had anything. Do you know what I mean? It was
if we didn't score those 2 goals though, were we deservedly 0-0? Like, did he get it right in the first half, Conte?
He got something right, because we managed to put a first half together in the first time. God knows how long,
Exactly right.
it's just difficult. I don't know I don't even think. That's the thing. I don't even think Conte knows what's wrong with the team. And the only thing that worries me is if Kane.
Well, I think he does, but he doesn't want to say it maybe because he knows that there might not be. He actually hinted at it last night. He sort of said, yes, you can buy experience. I've never conceded 4 goals in a second half before. Some other things. He beats around the bush a little bit, but he was alluding to the center backs, it felt like last night, but he doesn't want to do it because it's like 4 center backs that it's like he's got to get rid of like 4 of them. It's like, that's what I also feel bad for him. It's not like he can just single out one guy or something like that. He has to single out like 4 of them, bar Romero, basically.
I mean, the thing that scares me most about Kane leaving is not Tottenham without Kane, but just having, how long was it? Because we had a really good period, didn't we, with Berbatov and Keane and Defoe. And then we just went through disaster after disaster. You sold Aldos and stuff. And then like at the shopping list every season was a striker. We didn't have one for ages, or a decent one. And then not until Harry Kane came through. And I'm just worried that the search for our new striker will go on as long as our search for a new right wing back did.
Yeah.
That's been going on for years now.
Can you sympathize with Moondog here? He's saying, "Hi Jack, watching Spurs since 1968, and apart from the relegation season, I have not been so depressed with the club. I'm lucky to have seen us win things." So he's never been as depressed with the club until now. And then he feels like, he's actually glad that he's won things. Moondog, I feel like I've lived young enough of a life that I sort of, I am not getting too worried yet about trophies or anything. But it was frustrating for me, Moondog, to see us going somewhere under Pochettino, and sort of like the thing that everybody complained about, with Spurs recently, is that there is no clear plan of what we want or where we're going or how we operate or that sort of thing. But it felt like Pochettino, leading up to that Champions League final and the process of getting to there, felt like there was at least some idea of how we were trying to go, how we were trying to operate, what type of team we were. And it's just gone backwards since that Champions League final. And I don't know. That's where it's maybe gotten a bit depressing for me. I know I have plenty of time still on my side, hopefully, Moondog, but I don't know. It's just, it's worrisome to see that so many Spurs fans have gotten disillusioned with the club, because of this, backwards, direction that we're headed.
We got in the Champions League, and what did Levy do? He didn't buy a senior player for 18 months. Mia was saying, he does back and he does spend. No, he doesn't. We are always, we're always in the black. Pretty much.
We're always spending within our means. Usually, we never spend outside of our means.
I think the last time we had a negative, I might be proven wrong. Somebody like Sean will come up with the statistics somewhere. But I think the last time we really went in the red in the transfer window was for Redknapp.
And also another thing on that, though, is that most teams who are in the top 6 operate at a red. When it comes to their transfers, like you see how much Arsenal spent in the window when they didn't even have European football. They spent whatever it was. They spent the most in Europe that season, or I think in some case, and they didn't even have European football. But they did that in order to get back to European football. They did whatever it took. And it's like, would you expect Spurs to do that? Likely not, in order to do that. And that's where it is. It's like they have to maybe come to terms with, if you want to be challenging in this top 6 consistently, you will have to operate in the red. You will have to, dip into your own pockets. You will have to find, you'll have to come to terms with, again, operate at some sort of profit margin every single season.
And you're always
especially when things go wrong, like right now, especially when things go wrong, you have to just find Band-Aid money and fix it, and just take the loss.
And you always have to remember that, you're also operating against a couple of teams that are not interested in generating revenue. They're just washing revenue. It's just they're just trying to sort of barely conform to financial fair play. And if you're up against that, you're always going to be having a hard time, because the cities of this world, they just do what they want, really, don't they?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's never going to be easy now to win with that sort of money knocking about.
They also just have to get with the times, though, and realize that the rest of the league, if you want to be challenging that top 4, it's ever so harder to operate the way we do. It's becoming ever so harder that the margins are so much finer, and to make it easier on yourself, you just have to spend, I think, more money, or at least have more money available in case you get things wrong. And that's the thing with Spurs, is that we get things wrong with transfers like Lo Celso and Dembele, etc., but we don't do much very quickly to get it fixed or to do something about it. We kind of just let the problem sort of linger, it feels like. And I think that manifests itself a lot with the players. Like, look how long exactly Ben Davies and Dyer have stuck around. Like, I think someone even put in the chat the other day, Rufus, like, I can't think of many defenders that deserve a testimonial at any club, like deserve to stay at a club for 10 years. And it's like the fact that Ben Davies and Moonhead could be getting a testimonial. It's like the most underwhelming testimonial, like, of all time. Like, I would turn off the TV.
Fewest ticket sales for a testimonial of all time.
It's just that's the point, though, right? That's the point, though, right? Is that the squad has never, and even Adrian Chia brought it up earlier, that it's as important to get rid of players as it is to sign players. And another thing is Spurs have signed players that ended up being duds or ended up just not being good enough eventually, and they just never bothered to get rid of them. They kind of just let them stick around and linger, and let the next manager try to get a tune out of them. And
Dia and especially Davies, they were the backups. They were the backups, the bench warmers when we had Toby and Jan up there. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like they were the backups, and we've sort of moved forward with our subs.
Yeah.
We've never really replaced anything in the defence. We never replaced Ericsson. We never replaced Walker properly. Trips come pretty close under Poch, do you know what I mean? But we've never, since Trips has gone, we've never replaced Trips, do you know what I mean? So
yeah. No.
It just baffles me, and when we have been successful under Enoch, quite often at them times, we've always just been 1 or 2 players away from greatness. And Levy's never put his hand in his pocket for that moment,
Yeah. And also, Moondog just saying that apart from the relegation season with Spurs, he's never been this disillusioned with the club, which is just really puts things into perspective, I think, in that case as well. Like, that's a statement.
That's a statement. I'm old enough to remember that as well. But I was very young at that time.
Yeah. Big up Moondog, though, my man. And I don't know what to say to you. Like, that's the thing. I don't know what to say to people anymore. I think it's just, it sucks. Like, it sucks. Like, that's how it is. Sometimes you have to just admit, that just there's not a lot to be optimistic about at the moment. And the only thing you can be optimistic about is this sort of question that's on hand, is like, do you back Conte or do you go for the total restart? And the frustrating thing that you predicted, Rufus, is that they won't make that decision sooner rather than later. You seem to think that they'll wait till the end of the summer, or they'll wait till the summer, and then they'll make that decision. Like, okay, are we going to stick with Conte, or are we going to bring in Tuchel or Poch? No, it's like that decision for me needs to happen right now. Like, that decision needs to happen like today, tomorrow. It can't wait. You can't wait 6 months. And also, it's unfair to Conte. Like, if his head and his heart is not in it right now either, why keep him around?
And what I was actually, you misunderstood me just a tiny bit. What I actually meant is like, Conte knows already in his own head he's not staying after the summer. So there is no, do you know what I mean? I get the feeling that like the board and the club sort of all know it's over for whatever reason already, which is why we're sort of having this feeling. I said in the back room before we started, it feels very much like it did in the last days of Poch at the moment. This disconnect between the board and the manager and what they're coming out and saying, and I've just had enough of Willie won't he stay since we've been saying this since last January.
Yeah. Yeah. How long
We
is
were
this
having the
thing?
same discussion last night.
Never-ending
Oh, a walk
saga.
if we lose on Saturday, or a walk.
And you and I have been like, oh, we'll think, he's here for the long term. And then next week it's like, no, he's not, never mind. And then you go back on it the following week and it's just been a never ending saga. You're absolutely right, Rufus.
I think that's the first thing that needs to happen to end the toxicity around at the moment, is to make a decision, stick by it. I think Conte is leaving at the end of the summer, not being sacked. He'll leave. He won't do it anymore. I think Levy won't push the issue because he's paid so many compensation packets in the last year, last 3 years. He'll be thinking, hey, if I wait 3 months, 3.5 months, I'll get rid of him for free,
No, I know exactly what you're saying, Rufus. Can I actually, 2 more questions for me here, Rufus? One of them being actually with Paratici. I don't know if you have any strong opinions on the prosecutor calling for his name. He's what do you make of this? And is part of also the reason this January has been so frustrating is because Paratici is potentially in this
Did you
investigation.
see the news this week in Italy? They found one of those. They
found his black book. I heard they found the black
his hidey hole behind the wardrobe. That's where Paratici is at the moment. That's why we're not seeing him. Do you know what I mean? He's completely disappeared. He's in hiding.
It really is, though. I heard though that they found his in one of his offices or something. They said they found the black book is what they called it, where it's like it had the real financial accounts of the times at Juventus and everything. And it's just like, if he isn't a Don, I don't know if that doesn't make him a Don, I don't know what does, because the fact that he has a literal book, a literal planner for cooking the books. He has his own book for cooking. It's just
we were all saying, what's the Don cooking?
He's cooking the books.
He's cooking the books, mate. He's cooking the books.
Exactly right. I don't know, just to make us, crack a smile. I don't know what makes him a Don if he isn't cooking the books illegally. I mean, that's the most Don shit I've ever heard, basically. If anything. But I don't know, maybe Rufus, is there anything else that's on your mind right now that you want to talk about before I let you go here? What else is on the mind?
No, it's just awful at the moment. It's just a car crash at the moment, isn't it? It's just sort of it's not just on the field, it's off the field. We say we're interested in Trossard, we bid half the money, we're sort of, and then we never really go back in, and then you get signed. What was it? 22 million up front, and 5 million in add-ons.
For which? Sorry, I was just looking at
Trossard.
For Trossard, I think it was 27 million. I think it was 27 million or something, maybe. But what makes it infuriating, Rufus, was we had thrown out a bid for 12.5 million pounds or something like that, and then I think they more than doubled it. Arsenal, basically, they more than doubled.
I work with a Liverpool fan, and he's talking. That they have their own big problems. I mean, most of their midfield's out of contract or looking really old and ready for the Zimmer frames in the next season. And so they're going to have a big rebuild. And he was looking around at the market, and he said, when you compare the 80 million that Chelsea just paid for a player and 22 million up front with 5 million add-on, that's a bargain for a Premier League proven player.
Yeah.
And more so, somebody we needed. So why are we only making a half bid?
Yeah, I don't know. It's also just sort of the publicity of it is kind of incredible. You would think they would just sort of not want this with how much pressure is on them right now. It's just, I don't know why give them. They seem that ignorant. Yeah.
And just as the last point is, I really don't understand that they said they give us 150 million into the kitty. They only gave us 100 million. Then we're supposed to get the other 50 million. With that 50 million, we could have got Porro straight away.
No. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah. If they had taken out that extra 50 million of their evaluation or whatever, the shares, that they had taken out, that would have been the release clause to get Porro. You're right.
Yeah, and then maybe if we hadn't taken our eye off the ball, we would have been around to negotiate with Brighton for a player like Trossard.
Jesus.
But it's just sort of it's sort of we're spending all of our time at Sport in Lisbon going over the same shit day after day. No, we won't pay that. We won't pay that. We won't pay that. Or maybe if you have Marcus Edwards, it's just sort of like, get the shit done, mate.
Starting to think, we're going over to Lisbon just to have a good time, not really to buy Pedro Porro.
They've just gone over there because the weather's shit here. Do you know what I mean?
Drinking Mai Tais and
sunshine, bit of red wine.
Yeah, the clubs I heard are nice. The nightlife I heard is nice in Lisbon. It's better than cold London. Yeah, maybe you're right. Neil Thomas says Levy needs to spend and back Conte 100%. That's sort of where I'm at, Neil. Just is like I'm happy with doing the total restart, but I am just still blindly faithful, maybe you could say, in Conte. That I would rather still keep him around. I would keep him around, get rid of everything else, and keep Conte. That's just where I am.
I would agree with Neil. I would agree with Neil. That would be my preferred option. But
yeah,
I'm not saying
signs are not pointing towards it. Yeah, at the moment.
I just don't think there's any signs there at all that either Levy will back him or that Conte will be there this season. I just see nothing, and it leaves me speechless, really. Because what was the whole point in going away and getting a manager at the peak of his powers like Conte?
I don't know. The whole point was to challenge the board, though, as well. The whole point, I thought, was to sort of, it felt like actually what's really come to surface, Rufus, is that I think now it's being seen as a bit of like, he did it obviously to save his own ass. Daniel Levy, he brought in Conte because of the pressure that was on him when Nuno was getting sacked. Paratici, thankfully, he had Paratici, actually, because Paratici was then able to call up Conte, bring in Conte. That sort of then saved Levy for the time period, or sort of like, bought him some time, if you will, or gave him some time because people thought maybe he was sort of acting more desperately and he was willing to change. But now we find ourselves a year later and back at square one. It sort of feels like back at square one, like kind of, tricked again, if anything.
Leopards don't change their spots. Leopards don't change their spots. It's just, I mean, it's like going out and buying a Ferrari and then deciding to put diesel in it because it's a bit cheaper, and then wondering why it doesn't work.
Back at square one, Neil, but I'm going to back him 100%. I'm still backing him. I'm sticking with him here, Neil. Big up, my man. Appreciate your support. Rufus, this was a good conversation. Appreciate it, man. Good to gesprochen. All right.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Bis bald. See you soon. Catch you, Rufus. Ciao. Everybody, big up Rufus in the chat. That was a good chat I had with the man. I love that guy. Always good to, just sort of talk about everything from, Eric Dyer to Daniel Levy. I think we covered it all there, Rufus. We did a very good job there, my friend. Really appreciate it, brother. And Moondog here saying, welcome to our new manager, Ryan Mason. Won't be long. Feels like maybe even also it wasn't Conte who hired Ryan Mason as like one of the assistants. Was that maybe part of Daniel Levy's choice, or was that Conte's choice? Conte said he really liked Ryan Mason and how he ran training and how he speaks to the lads and everything. Or is that, if you were to be an extra conspiracy theorist, Moondog, maybe that's Daniel Levy keeping Ryan Mason around so that when Conte eventually gets sacked, he has Ryan Mason to plug in right away. But I don't know. That's what the cyclical would think, or the cynical would think, right? In that case, but big up, my man. And Moondog, I don't know. Let me know between Pochettino or Tuchel if he was sacked tomorrow, if you had a choice between those, because you would hope that Daniel Levy actually has some sort of, plan or some sort of, manager in the waiting in case he is going to pull the trigger on Conte. But the one thing that really worries me, Moondog, is like what Rufus was bringing up. Like, if he actually ends up waiting 6 months to then sack Conte, waits till the summer to sack Conte, I think that just would be so deeply infuriating, because he knows that he should just make that decision as soon as possible. Is he sticking with Conte and is he backing Conte, or is he just doing a total restart with a new manager? Daniel Levy and the board, they have to make that decision as soon as possible. You can't delay that decision of a total restart or backing Conte. You can't just let us sit in purgatory for the next 6 months where we're just sort of, unsure again on Conte, whether he's staying. And also, if Conte's head and heart isn't even in it, like, why keep him around? Like, why force him to stay if his head and his heart isn't even in it anymore? Just cut it off and just, let him go and just bring in someone who is willing to be brave enough to take on this sort of job and try to make the most of it. I don't even think Conte, if he left, would be seen as a failure at all. It's just the club has broken him. Like, the club has just simply kind of just killed his soul and his passion for trying to make it work. And there's no shame in that. Like, it's, plenty of managers have come here, have been broken by this club. So I don't know. Just these decisions, they need to be made as soon as possible. They can't be delayed till the summer for me, Moondog. They just simply can't. Big up, my man, and appreciate your support as well. I think it's Dermatron, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it's Dermatron afterwards, everybody. So keep hitting that like button if you're enjoying the fan show today. We still have a few more, I think like 4 or 5 more in the queue here. So please, everybody, keep hitting that like button if you've been enjoying the fan show so far. But Dermot's our next person in here. Big up, Dermot.
How are you doing, Jack? Where do we
Trying my
start
best
from here?
Trying my best, Dermot. But do you want to just talk about last night's game first? Do you want to, go on to the bigger picture? I mean,
Look, I've said this before, but I can remember us nearly going out of business. And I can remember going to bed thinking, will I have a football club in the morning to support? Will I have a team to support on the Saturday? Now, 20 years of Levy and Enoch, they've made some big clangers. And we can all spot them out. I have spent 40-something years supporting this team. And last night is the first time I was truly, truly embarrassed of being a Spurs fan. We fell apart in that second half like there was no tomorrow. Hugo acting like he was out of the asylum, that they let him out for the night. Emerson scoring, I mean, when Emerson scores, we're in trouble.
It's a weird evening. It's a weird evening.
Yeah. I've given up. I haven't given up, but I've got to the point where Spurs doesn't matter anymore. And for me, that is a big thing. Tottenham is my second love. Always has been, always will be. But the owners, the players, Conte with his mixed messages coming in and out has killed the passion for me. Has killed the passion. Has killed the passion for me. And last night it killed the passion. The London derby reduced me to tears on here nearly.
Yeah.
Last night the passion has gone. The fire's gone out. Tottenham are killing the fans. How God we need a Bill Nick. How God we need a Keith Birkinshaw. We need Conte to come out one way or the other, what he's doing. Stop these mind games with the chair, with Levy and Enoch and with the fans. Come out, be honest with us. Tell us, look, I'm going at the end of the season, or what? I'm gonna stay and fight. Give us something to hang on to. Give us something to get behind. Conte, if you're watching, if you come out and say, I'm staying here because I want the best for the club and the fans, you'll have the fans behind you 100%. Give us something to believe in, because at the moment we have nothing to believe in. We've got players running around like in that second half. Embarrassing. We've got players that don't care. That shirt means something. The badge means something to us fans. It means everything to us. To you, Jack, to David, everyone watching here on this channel, every Spurs around the world, it means something.
Yeah.
And they don't care. They're thrashing, they're disgracing our club. It's not Levy's club. It's not Enoch's club. It's not Conte's club. It's not the players' club. It's our club. Without us fans, there is no Tottenham Hotspur. And they have to give us something to believe in.
Yeah.
And
Dermot, do you agree with what Moondog was saying? Like, where it's like he hasn't felt this disillusioned or disconnected or depressed with this club since we were relegated. Like, that's how. Would you agree with that?
I would. I mean, I was born in 77, so I was born the year we went down. Now, I can remember the 80s and then the 90s and then the terrible 90s, the sugar years, as I call them. I mean, at least with Aussie, you had about 10 players going forward, one in defence. It wasn't good on the heart, but it was great crack to watch. 5-4 every week. It really was. But this club is in a mess. It's fallen apart. It's not Tottenham Hotspur. It's not Tottenham. I miss my Spurs.
Yeah.
I want my Spurs back. Now, we can blame the owners. They have made clangers. They've done good things. They've done bad things. Like every owner does. We can blame, but the players have to take responsibility, Jack.
For last night, Dermot, I mean, what do you make of it? Is it like, how much of the blame does Conte take? How much of the blame do the players take, like, for last night? Because it felt like he got it right in the first half. And then in the second half, it was the complete opposite of a Conte halftime speech. It felt like, like Daniel said, maybe he was just having a glass of wine with Pep and he didn't talk to them at all. And maybe they thought the game was won or something. How do you explain that second half?
He probably told them, that's it, the game's gone. Over. We've won. And they've got this mentality. We've done enough. And he should have been there. Right. You're 2-0 up by the skin of our teeth. Let's continue what we're doing. We did the same thing in the second half, Jack, as we did against Arsenal at the Emirates. We went in with a draw at halftime with the momentum to kick on. Last night, we had a 2-0 head start momentum, and we blew it. Again, Hugo let us down. Him and Emerson, what the hell? There was no communication. Did I not talk to each other?
No.
It's to answer your question, Jack, the both should take collective responsibility. Conte for not changing it quick enough when we went 2-2. He should have changed it there and then. Swing the momentum back in our favour. We're too predictable. And the players should take responsibilities because they keep letting us down. But these are the same players, you, Dave, Sean, myself, I've been saying about again and again and again. They keep letting us down.
Yeah.
And we can't keep doing this. We can't keep going through the same thing every time because it's no good. We want a team we can believe in. We want a club we believe in. I don't believe in Tottenham Hotspur. And for me to say that, it breaks my heart because it's a team we should be able to believe in. On the Poch, we had the team we believed in.
You're spot on.
They just didn't go the extra mile. But, we haven't been right since Poch left. There's something missing. The soul's been ripped out of the club. And Enoch and Levy, as much as I'm down the middle, Jack, and I'm not one way or the other, one thing I will say, they've sold the soul. They've sold the Spurs soul to the devil. And
Dingo Yid saying, I'm 56 at the moment. We are not supporting a football club. We have a corporate investment company and events company to support fans of football. Do not matter to them.
Dingo Yid. Bill Nick once said, somebody asked him in the dressing room, what does Tottenham Hotspur mean? He said, Tottenham Hotspur will remain if I'm not here. When you're gone, when I'm gone, when Pay's gone, what remains is the fans. They make a football club. They've gone away. It's not a working man's game anymore. It's a corporate game. It's for the prawn sandwich brigade. It's for the tourists. It's for... Look, I'm a tourist fan, if you want to call me that myself, Jack, when I come from Ireland. I'm going to the AC Milan match. You probably could call me a tourist fan.
Yeah.
But it's wrong. But it's the soul has been taken out of the football club. We're not a football club anymore. And that's the worst thing. That Bill Nick's looking down and he's crying. Arthur Rowe's crying. Jimmy Greaves is looking down. This isn't the club I played for. I guarantee you, Graham Roberts, Steve Perryman, Tony Galvin, Chris Hughton, Paul Miller, Ray Clements, may he rest in peace, Mickey Hazard, they're looking at the club now thinking, this isn't the club we play for. Steve Perryman played for one team and then after, but he made his debut under Bill Nick. He was our most experienced person in the history of the team. And even I bet he's broken heart to see how we are. Jack, as a young fan yourself, it must break your heart to see the team you started following when you started following Spurs to how we are now.
I think I just like I keep saying, I think I have the optimism of having time on the side, but I think what's more so crushing, Dermot, is to see us going backwards so fast and
Yeah.
so hard. And also maybe it seems like the board and the ownership to not maybe realize or want to accept that they've been going backwards for the last 4 years, because under Pochettino, they were headed in the right direction. And also we were challenging in areas that, I mean, during my fandom, we had never done before, and had also been challenging teams and beating teams consistently that I had never seen us do before.
Yeah.
And so it was, it's new territory, but that new territory was sort of short-lived. And now we find ourselves just sort of hovering like in the top 4, top 6 regions. Since then, we've gone to different managers and we've made them work with the same set of players as the last one, and then criticize those managers for not getting the best out of the same set of players that the last manager got fired for, trying to get a tune out of. And it's just made a lot of us feel disillusioned. And I think even some of the younger fans like myself, it's depressing to see us go backwards in such a dramatic way. But also, I think on top of that is that we're going backwards, but it doesn't seem like, and even Ali Gold's quote the other day, right, where he said some people inside the football club don't seem to think they're doing a whole lot wrong. If that's true, then that's what's really, I think, depressing everybody, is that we've gone backwards since the Champions League final. But because we've been going backwards, the reason we've been going backwards so hard is because some people just don't think they're really doing a whole lot wrong in the first place, which is a bad sign.
I can remember Tottenham being a family club. The community was everything to Tottenham. It was linked. We were linked with it. Tottenham has always been linked. Bill Nick used to live just down the road from the stadium. He lived there all his life, just about a good 100, 200 yards, I think, down the stadium. We were linked. The day Keith Birkinshaw left that club was the day I felt Tottenham have died. Tottenham start dying. We lost that link. The day Bill Nick, Keith Birkinshaw left, the soul was slowly seeping out of the club. I would rather have White Hart Lane and a world-class team than a world-class stadium with a team full of numpties. I didn't ask for this stadium. I didn't want this. Though the stadium is wonderful, yeah, it's great. Give me White Hart Lane any day. Give me White Hart Lane and a world-class team, not a world-class stadium and a full of numpties for 11 go out who don't care about us, the fans, the badge, the tradition, everything about Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. We're not Tottenham Hotspur NFL. We're not Tottenham Hotspur Athletic Club, which we were called back in the day. We're not Tottenham Hotspur Music Centre. We're not Tottenham Hotspur the Boxing Club. We're Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Football Club. It sort of rings a bell what we are. And this is the bit that's got me. We're not a club anymore. And that's what kills me. We're not a football club, Jack. And look, where do we go from here? I think Conte has to come out one way or the other what he's doing. Let us fans know what he's doing. I think the club have to come out and give a vision of what they're doing, which they've never done before. We're in the dark. They don't care about us fans, but they expect us to pay for tickets. They expect us to pay for season tickets. They expect us to go into the club shop. They expect us to do this. But if we didn't go, we look at COVID. Nobody was allowed into the stadium. We keep the football club going. Without fans, there is no football club. And they will soon realise that when no fans turns up. But you can say there's 60,000 wouldn't turn up. There's another 60,000 that would take their place. There's so many people waiting for season tickets. So, look, it's breaking my heart to see the team how it is and the club how it is. And I miss Spurs. I miss the good old days. I miss my Tottenham, and I want my Tottenham back.
Steve Pryor, Keith Birkinshaw said back in 1984, there used to be a football club over there. Saw it coming. He saw it coming a long time ago, and that's a quote you yourself use a lot of times, Dermot.
Yeah, I looked back last night. I was watching our game before I did the show last night. The 82-83 League Cup away to Manchester United. And it was football at its beauty. It was just, I don't know, it was football that it's meant to be. Old Trafford, all standing, fans singing, toilet rolls being thrown up. I mean, God knows why fans used to throw toilet rolls onto the pitch. To this day, I still don't know why. I mean, they probably took it for home and the missus wondering where the toilet was going. I'm taking to the game to throw it on the pitch. But it was football, Jack, of just passion of what it's meant to be. And you had players like Tony Galvin, Chrissy Houghton, Ozzy Ardiles, players who cared for the club. Steve Perriman, absolutely filthy with mud, but he's there putting the tackles in, diving. Do you know, Graham Roberts putting his head in where he shouldn't have been putting his head in.
Yeah.
You couldn't see Dyer doing that. He's probably too scared to put his head in the case it hurts the bit of head in his hair. Do you know, as I say, Conte has to let us know what we're doing, where he's going. And if he does go, I would actually go for Thomas Frank at Brentford. That's the manager I would like to see at our club, because I think he could do something with the younger players. He would be a project manager.
Thomas Frank is not a bad, project manager suggestion at all. I don't find him to be a bad suggestion at all, actually, in fact.
Do you know what? I feel sad for you, Jack. I feel for you, because if you saw White Hart Lane at its cauldron and you were there, that really would put the hairs on the back of your neck up.
Do you believe what Steve D said, that the stadium has taken the soul away from the club?
Yeah. It's gone. We've got no soul. Bill Nick's spirit has gone. And I've said that to you before. Bill Nick's spirit needs back. The Bill Nick spirit's gone. And it's sad and it's heartbreaking. And I don't know who's to blame. There's many factors could be to blame. Managers, players, the owners, Levy, Enoch. Managers, we've had players that didn't give a shit. I just want my Spurs back. But look, we march on. We keep going.
Moondog says nothing will change, Jack. It's the same old crap.
It's
over the last 4 years, it's been the same old crap, is what I would
has.
say. The last 4 years has been sort of any time that we've thought that maybe there was a light down the end of the tunnel, or there was a change, or something was around the corner, it ended up being a smack in the face, or ended up being short-lived, Moondog. And so the last 4 years have been just a bunch of just sort of dilly-dallying around and just kind of going back and forth, going backwards, going forwards, only to go backwards again. And that's where I could see why some people think nothing will change. I think eventually, I'm probably going to outlive the ownership, hopefully, and things like that. So I'd like to think that things will change. But Moondog, at this moment, the last 4 years, we've just been sort of just tricked and tricked again, and just made to believe and get our hopes up, only for them to be crushed. And it's getting exhausting for Spurs fans. Spurs fans have an incredible will and an incredible passion to be able to get their hopes up and be able to be optimistic. I think we're incredible at that, actually. But I mean, Daniel Levy's taken advantage of that, and the club and the players and everything have also taken advantage of that, by just thinking that our loyalty will just always be there, and it probably always will be. But it's depressing that it's being taken advantage of, if anything.
I feel lucky, Jack, because I'm 46 next month, and between 80 and 90, that 10-year period, I saw us win stuff. It was like quick in succession. And as a young kid, you're thinking, this is brilliant. I've got a team that's winning. We're matching like the mighty Liverpool winning European UEFA Cup and FA Cups. And then you get hit back. Maybe you get hit with such a big bang of reality. And then you go from manager after manager after manager. We had the managers in the 90s. We had the managers now. And the only one who came close to matching what we did before was Poch. So, if Conte's given the tools, he could do it. He could be as good as Bill Nick or Keith Birkinshaw. He's got to be given the tools. But also, he's got to say, right, come out at press conference, I am committed to this club. We'll sign. I want the club to, do that 1 year extension. And during that, we will sit down with a talk about contract. But I'm here for next season. Give the fans hope. Give the fans something to cling on to. Please, Conte, if you're watching, don't give up on us, because we're not giving up on you.
Love it, Kermit. Love it. Tell us about your channel, my friend.
Yeah, we've got a few shows coming up. Tomorrow night we're putting a big wanted poster up. Where's Paratici gone? So we're going to go searching for him. Tonight we're doing a show. We're putting on the wanted poster, and we put reward a centre back and a right wing back. So that's what we're looking for. Tonight we're doing a show called "Has the Italian Job Failed?" So we are going to look into this. Has it failed? And then we've got Ellie, who's on next after me. We've got her lady show. She's back. Philip's got his morning stuff. So we've got lots of stuff coming up. Me and Philip are doing a watch along on Monday. So we've got a few things coming up. So yeah, please, if you like what I have to say, please like and subscribe, but always do it here first. This is the mothership. This is where we sprang from. And Dave, if you're watching, big up, brother. I hope you're okay. And Jack, you've done brilliantly holding the fort. So
thank you,
well
Dermot.
done to you. And
Thank you,
big up,
Dermot.
Dave. And we can't wait to have you back because this is where you belong, sir, next to your brother here, Jack.
Thank you, Dermot. Thanks for chatting with me, and thanks for spending time with me. And love to come on the channel sometime soon. It looks like this fan show might run a little long, so I'm not sure if I can make your debate show tonight. But if you were to push it tomorrow,
so,
if I could try to make it for tomorrow, then
yeah, I'm sure we'd love you on if you can help us find Paratici. I'm sure he's hiding on a rock somewhere or in a dodgy Soho
I'll help
bar.
you find him. I'll do whatever
he's
I
probably
can.
in a Soho bar with a lady called Marge or something like that, drinking on a bottle of champagne or something. You know what he's like.
I certainly do. And I'm trying to find him, Dermot. That's the thing. But big up, my man. Good chatting with you.
Yeah,
Catch
big
you
up,
soon.
Jack. Take care. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Everybody show THFC Till I Die some love, please. Hit that link and also hit the big red subscribe button. Putting out a lot of content. Looks like they're doing a show tonight and a show tomorrow as well. And then the next person I'm speaking to is the lovely Queen Ellie, the queen of the Højbjerg fan club. We have so much to talk about here. So even more THFC Till I Die. Big up, Ellie. Ooh, Ellie, let me
That's
you need
better.
there, that's better.
Yeah, Højbjerg's getting a lot of backlash, but
How do we defend him?
He deserves a little bit of it because he's pointing a lot, and he's not doing what he normally does. He gets stuck in. He got stuck in once or twice, but nothing of anything like to sort of say, yeah, he's the old Højbjerg, right? So, but in his defence, the whole team is not pulling together. We're not playing with any continuity, Jack, and we're doing the same old thing, playing one half good and one half bad. But this time it reversed. We got the good first half and the crap second half. Oh my God. We were very poor.
How do you
in
explain that though,
half.
Ellie? Like this is
I
kind of the
can't.
question. Like, does it fall on Conte a little bit? The fact that somehow, like the second half, he capitulated, and the team capitulated. Is that maybe his halftime team talk? Not doing a good a good service. Then what do you make of it? Like, because how much blame does he take for the second half?
It looks like Conte's lost his mojo. He's like crossing his arms like Nuno done against Arsenal and against Man United, and he doesn't seem interested. He's not as animated. He gets sometimes animated, but not like before, and he's had, like everybody said, he's had 3 deaths, close friends of his that sort of rocked his world really. And like, I don't know, maybe he wants to show the owners that we're not good enough. So he's playing all the dead wood, and then he's bringing in Kulu to try and muster up some sort of fight, because Kulu did try his best in that first half. So did Benny. These are our 2 new boys, and they're showing the old boys how to win. If they were pulling their weight as well, the other 9, even Kane was off sorts, but I was very impressed with the first half pressing. I was.
Yeah,
I think from a restaurant as well, the first half. And I was very impressed. But do you know what? The second half, it's like we came out and we remembered we're a League 2 team. That's how I see our defending, League 2. I wouldn't even credit them that much, actually. They're like a relegation League 2 team, right at the bottom. That defending.
It also feels like Hugo is even part of that, League 2 sort of bracket at the moment, Ellie, because I don't think he can make saves and he can't do anything with his feet, and he doesn't seem to have any sort of confidence or any sort of leadership ability at the moment either. Like, he's become a bit useless. But let's talk about the back line first. And Dyer had his own mishap, I think. Longley had his big mistake as well.
God.
Like, it's And also, I think Conte, I think he's sort of given them a pass before, Ellie, right? He's taken one for the team, and he sort of kind of blamed it on himself, and and then kind of gave them a pass. He didn't throw them under the bus before like Jose
No.
would, but this time I think he started to stand up for himself a bit more. He said things like, I've never conceded 4 goals and a half before. He also, I believe, said, you can buy experience, you can, shake up this defense, but he just, I don't know, he started to stand up for himself a bit more.
Yeah, because he wants the owners to get their finger out their arse and actually put some money down on the table and actually buy some decent defenders. Because these defenders, they're not defenders. They can't even recover, Jack. When they've lost the ball, a decent defender can recover and get right back and try and stop the player from scoring. But you saw it from Longley. It hit his knee. He couldn't recover because he hasn't got the pace, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, Mahrez just went straight through. And Mahrez is not a particularly fast player. He's not noticed for his pace. He's a tricky player, but he couldn't even catch him.
Yeah.
And like the whole defence capitulated in that second half. It was like we're 2 different teams.
Did we get the first half right then? So it sounds like Conte got the tactics right in the first half.
Yeah,
right?
we did, because we were pressing them up high. They were coming through, but we were like pushing up high from the defence, and they didn't really create a lot of chances. I think they had 2 clear chances, and we kept it quite tight. And then the second half, they come out and they pulverised us. But the thing is, with City, they've got another gear and another gear above that and then another gear. We've just got 1 gear.
Yeah.
And it's like slow-mo gear.
And it felt like in the second half, he was getting some things wrong, whereas some people thought he could have taken off Sonny. He took off Perisic, even though Perisic wasn't doing well defensively. He was probably one of our better threats going forward. Like, there were some things maybe he could have done differently. And especially, I think substitutions, he never really seems to please Spurs fans with the substitutions he makes either.
True. I think what he did, because Perisic missed that chance to make it 3-0, he thought, right, and then he didn't track back a couple of times. I thought, right, he's seen enough of Perisic. He's not going to add flavour. He would have had flavour going forward, but from the back, he thought, we'll do damage limitation, bring on Sessegnon and try and get something out of the game. And at 3-2, we were still in it in a way. We weren't completely out of it because we were trying to push forward, but the Man City just pick you off. They do. That's where we should have held tight. We should have played more disciplined in the second half like we did in the first half, because we had them. We had them by the throat and we just didn't, like it's like a Dracula biting into the neck, bite them into the neck and beat them. No, we gave up and we let them take control of the second half. And once you do that with Man City, their passing is so on point, and it's like zip, 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 goal.
It is that way. Rodri, I thought at one stage was just
God.
anytime he got the ball, it felt like he was just killing us with some 20-yard pass that would break the lines of the midfield, and they were able to just run at our back line. Another thing too, Ellie, is that the midfield looked a lot better in this match, but still though, it's like there seems to be, it's like what gives? It's like certain times it feels like the midfield is getting overrun, but then other times the midfield looks pretty strong for a 2-man midfield. But then the back line isn't doing its job and stepping up. And, with 3 defenders as well, like you should step up and you should be more aggressive. And most of the time their first step is backwards. And I don't know. It was strange because they defended, I thought, quite well for the most part in the first half. Like they did, I think,
they did
deal with the danger quite well for what is a very good Man City team. But then in the second half, it's like, how come like all the mistakes come? Like, and does it start with Hugo, though? Is it the fact that it all sort of starts with Hugo, maybe with the Emerson Royale goal? And
I wouldn't put it all on Hugo's shoulders, right? Because the 2 men in midfield done very well yesterday in the first half, right? Højbjerg and Bentancur, they done very well. They held the line, but the other 2 on the wings, right, they're supposed to tuck in, right? They're supposed to help the midfielders. So, because when you're playing wing backs, it's like having 4 in midfield, but the wing backs are going to push more forward. So they have to be disciplined as well behind. So you've got Romero and you've got Longley. They have to be the disciplined ones. And then you've got Dyer, who doesn't give you much because he's not a defender. I've never liked him as a defender. He'd be better as a holding midfielder if we wanted to keep him, like play him like a Steve Perriman role, that sort of holding sweeper, because he hasn't got the pace to recover against the strikers that are in the Premier League at the moment. They're like lightning, and also their physicality is much better now than in the olden days, right? So I just feel that our wing backs are letting us down big time, you know, and they should really be helping Højbjerg and Bentancur, or Højbjerg and Basuma. When Basuma came on, I was quite impressed with his holding play. I was really impressed the way he moved the ball, you know, and he was getting a bit of confidence up. That was the only shining light that I saw in that second half, because Kulu went a bit wayward. Kane was not really in the game. Sonny was missing. You know, all the players that we rely on to get us back into the game, they went missing in that second half. It's very disappointing.
Do you feel like Emerson needs to go, but he had a better display, I thought, against Man City than Doherty did against North London Derby. It's again confusing, Ali, because like when Doherty is given his chance and when Doherty looks like he's being preferred, he never takes advantage of it. It feels like he only plays well when he's not preferred by Conte. And then Emerson, when he's out of the firing line, and when Emerson all of a sudden is no longer the preferred choice, felt like he had a much better game than Doherty did against.
He did. He had one of his better games. He tends to save the best games for the bigger clubs. Like I remember against Liverpool last season, he played that blinder. He was given a free role in that game. He was roaming all around the pitch, not really defending, but he was getting forward. And I like the way he linked up play in that Liverpool match away. But do you know what? We're not good enough. We're not good enough. We're not going to make top four. I can make that prediction now because there's 4 better teams than us up. And then there's teams behind us that are going to overtake us as well, especially Fulham and Brighton, because they've hit form at the right time. And who are we playing next? Fulham. How unlucky are we, Jack? How unlucky are we? You know, they're going to beat us as well, because I can't see us getting anything out of that game.
And I think Mitrovic is coming back from injury and everything, and he scored a worldie against us last time. I think Mitrovic too, and Craven Cottage is rocking right now. The Cottage, like they're very happy. You know, they're a happy fan base.
They're cock a hoop.
They're quite neutral, you know, fans, and so it feels like they only pick their moments to be very loud and proud Fulham. So this is a very rare occurrence to come up against a loud and proud Fulham side.
So it's true. But they're playing nice football, and
that's what I mean. Like everybody's behind it. The fans are behind it. Everybody's on the same page over there. You would say at the Cottage.
Yeah, because Jack, if we were playing nice football and losing, I think people would be a little bit more, you know, forgiving, right? But we're playing crap football and losing, or we're playing sort of semi-okay in one half and then really badly in the second half, or vice versa. But the thing is, we've had no continuity, no consistency all season. And even Conte's lost his mojo. You can see he looks like a broken man.
Yeah,
he really does. He's like on the sideline and he's biting his lip and he's like looking ashen and he's
like
looking
you said,
older.
he looks like Nuno, staring at the grass, arms folded.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. I know. It deflates the fans as well, because they're looking for Conte for inspiration. You look for his passion, don't you, every game? But it's gone. The man has been broken. We break every manager. We broke Jose. We sacked him 6 days before a cup final, and then he had the last laugh, bringing the Conference Cup back to Roma, you know, and he's putting in his memoirs, I never won a cup at Spurs. No one's going to win. As long as these owners are there, we're not going to win anything. Because whatever manager's there, they're not going to back him.
No.
They won't back him. Not like he's supposed to be backed. Conte, if you back him, he will get you the results. He will. But he's left with Dyer, Davis, Longley, Sanchez, Tanganga, I can't. There's too many to. Then you got Winks. Then you got Lo Celso coming back. Ndombele coming back. What are we going to do with these players when they turn up in the summer? Conte's going to think, "Oh my God!"
Just more dross to have to clean up and more players
More
to have to ship
drama,
out.
isn't it?
It's
And
more drama.
Paratici's gone missing. Where's he gone?
So many issues, Ellie, because we need him to be cleaning up that mess. We need him to be cleaning and cooking at the same time. But he's got his own shit to deal with, I guess,
You know,
right
an
now.
outsider looking in, Jack, they think, what a joke.
Yeah.
A joke club we've
dumpster
become.
fire. They must think it's a dumpster fire right now. Yeah.
I love Tottenham Hotspur with all my heart, but I can't put up with this present 22 years of this Enoch. They've driven us down to the very depths of like the mire, like we're in the mire, and then they're pushing us even further down in the mire, and then they're rubbing our noses in by saying they're going to build a training ground for the NFL. That's an insult. It's an insult. Nothing against the NFL, but we're a football club at the end of the day. We've got traditions to uphold. We've got like a fantastic history that's been devastated by this current people in charge. They're bringing our name down, and everybody's laughing at us.
Is this the most disillusioned or the most disconnected you've ever been?
Yes,
Ellie?
And the fans and the YouTube are all disjointed as well. We're all going at each other when we should all be uniting against these owners to get them out. Really, I'm not one to sort of hold back on this, right? Because I've always been Enoch out. I've always been Levy out. I want him out because he's not investing in our club. He's taking it in another direction. He's built a stadium which was £500 million over budget. He's put the debt in America, and it's going to take us 30 years to pay it, right? And he's not investing in the team. I heard Mia say that he does invest, but he doesn't invest enough. He just does enough to get us top four, just enough. And then he stops. And then he pulls the plug like he did on Poch. Now he's going to do it on Conte.
Yeah. Ellie, so what do we do here? I mean, do you go for the total restart, get Conte out, get the players out, get everything out, and just restart? Or do you back Conte and, of course, try to ship out the players as well?
I want to back Conte. I want to back Conte because I love the man. I think he's fantastic. And I don't want him to come out as a broken man. I want to get him backed, get these current owners out, get new owners that love the club. They want to invest in the club. They're supporters of the club. Like Arsenal did when that Spotify man came out of the blue and said, I'm a big gooner and I want to make us great again. Right. And then it sparked Conte to start investing in their club. And Arteta started getting people out that he didn't want there. Like Aubameyang, you start, right, you're not one of my men, you're out, even if you're the captain. That's what we need. We need Conte to stay, the owners to go, and Conte to be backed by the new owners in full so that we can build a club that we can be proud of again. The proof's in the pudding. One trophy in 22 years, Jack. That tells you a lot, doesn't it?
And we've been going backwards for the last 4 years since getting to the Champions League final. Gone backwards since then. And also it feels like anytime we think that there's a maybe a good turnaround, anytime we thought that we have turned it around, or there's some a good direction for Spurs, it just seems to just immediately get we run into a brick wall, it feels like, or we just end up going backwards in some manners or in some shape. You're absolutely right, Ellie.
That's right. And I heard a couple of fans actually say that Conte's only won one Premier League, but at least he's won one. There's not many managers who've done it. If you count them on one hand, like Pep Guardiola, he's cornered the market. He's got 4 out of 5, and Klopp's got the other one in the last 5 years. So for us to get up there, we need these owners to ship out, sell up to people that actually love the club and want to take us forward as not an investment, as a club to be proud of, and make us fans want to go to the matches and enjoy the football as well. Like Manchester City fans, you saw them yesterday. They're like so passionate. They're loving the football that they're seeing. What can we hold on to? We're just seeing glimpses of brilliant, and then a lot of Maya. Yeah, so no, I want the owners there, Conte to stay, build a team in his eyes, get all the dead wood out that we know is still there, all the defence more or less was set for Romero, and then build a team that he'll be proud of, and we'll be going in our droves to go and watch, Jack.
Exactly right, Mia. Exactly right. Any final words for me? Anything I should think about?
Keep
and
your
also
chin up, everybody.
give the channel a plug
Better
as
times
well.
are coming. But we got all unite as a fan base and get these present owners to sell the club, because they've nearly done it a couple of times in the past. In the last 5 years, they've nearly sold up. So let's see what we can do as a fan base, and even the supporters trust. They can add weight to it, even though I don't even think they're that good. I think they can still do a lot of damage to this current regime. Yeah.
And the Spurs ladies need to turn it around too, Ellie. I mean, they started off so strong and then they just fell apart.
Yeah, well, the thing is, we lost to Aston Villa last game and it was a very close call. We could have easily won that one, but we got Leicester next, so they're bottom of the league. So if we can't beat them, then we should give up on the ladies as well. I'm telling you, the whole club needs a reshuffle. The whole club, from men to ladies, we need a reshuffle. We need to look at ourselves in the eye and admit that we've come that far low down, that we've got to admit it to ourselves, right? Our fans have admitted it, but the club hasn't. They don't even have any transparency with the fans. They don't come out and talk to us. You see, Leicester City, they're a proper family-run club. They have meetings with the fans, everything. We're shut out. It's like we don't matter to them. But we are. We're the ones who pay the bread and butter. We're the ones who go week in, week out, pay our money, buy our programmes, buy the shirts. They should respect us, like Bill Nicholson said. The fans are always going to be there. Owners will always come and go. Managers will always come and go. But the fans, we're there forever until the day we die.
I'm with you, Ellie. I'm fully with you. And I think a lot of people are in the chat here. So THFC Till I Die is where they can find you.
That's it. THFC Till I Die. We've got a show at 7:00 tonight. That's going to be a cracker. Tune in, everybody. It's going to be a big one. And we're going to discuss all I've been saying as well with Dermatron and a few other people going to join us. I think Mia's joining us as well. I love Mia because she says it as she sees it.
Exactly
and
right.
She doesn't hold back. She gets a lot of criticism, but she stands her ground. That's a sign of a true person that believes what they say.
Exactly.
Don't get swayed by others. Just stick to your guns.
Know
say
your
what
truth.
You believe.
Yeah, know your truth and speak honestly and speak, from the heart. That's what she
from
does.
The heart.
That's what
right.
she does. Big up,
Right,
Ellie.
Jack?
Appreciate good chat.
Thank you
really
for
good
having
chat.
Me on.
No,
Big
thank
up,
you.
David Harris. I love you, man. You're the best guy I've ever known in my whole entire life. He's the best man. I'm telling you, that man. He's
a good man.
He saved me a few times as well, and he's made me sleep, and I've caught up on my sleep now. So thank you very much, David, and I hope we see
Ellie,
you
for saying
back soon.
Thank you, Ellie, for saying that. I hope he's listening, and I'll send on your good message to him.
Love
really
him with
appreciate
all my
that,
heart.
Ellie. Appreciate
You
that,
take
Ellie.
care. Thank you,
Ellie.
Jack. And I love you
Appreciate
too, man. I
love you too, Ellie. Thank you, Ellie.
Take care.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Wow, that kind of made me cry at the end there. Everybody. Really appreciate that, Ellie. Really kind. David is doing okay. He's going to come back when he's ready, and he's going to come back when, he's feeling up for it. It's just, it's tough times right now. It's tough times right now. Big up, Ellie, and everybody. Go show that channel some love tonight, especially. Neil Thomas, you had a member super chat earlier. That's my apologies. I should have gotten it to earlier. Apologies, Neil. Member for 10 months as well, Neil. I do really appreciate it, especially over 10 months, my man. Really do appreciate your consistent support. And he's put in here saying, hang in there, Dermot. Levy out needs to happen. Everything sort of does get solved with the new change of ownership. We are trying to come up with different ways as to how sort of we can get out of this mess if the ownership sticks around. But we all know at the end of the day, like the elephant in the room really is that everything would be made a whole lot easier if the ownership did go. And then also, Neil, I'm keeping the faith. I know Dermot's going to keep the faith. Don't you worry, my man. And we're going to get out of this, Neil. Don't worry, brother. But really do appreciate that support. And my apologies as well for not getting to that sooner. And then Full Brazen has put in a chat here saying, hey, guys, I'm new to all this YouTube stuff, but I just spent an hour watching they're another channel that everybody knows about them. Last Word on Spurs. Asked loads of questions in the chat and spent like 40 pounds in super chats, and they didn't answer a question. Normal. I can't answer for them, Brazen Bull, because I don't speak for them. I don't work for them or anything like that. Maybe it was a special show of some kind, but I'm not going to speculate or anything. And I'm not going to say anything like about them either, because it's just not my place. But Full Brazen, we do answer super chats over here. We answer comments of all kind. We try to do the best job that we can, especially while I'm running it sort of solo. It's tough to, sort of balance, getting to the comments while sort of trying to having a good conversation with the guest as well. But, we're trying our best here to sort of balance it. But yes, we do answer to super chats, answer to comments of all kind. And we're just sort of kind of just, doing it all over here, basically. But yeah, that's all I would say is that we do try to get to them as soon as we can. And if it's, within also as well, like what we're talking about within the topic of conversation, absolutely get to it as soon as we can. But it's, I don't know. I can't explain it. Sorry. Can't explain what another channel is doing or anything. Brazen, I don't really know how to answer that. So, just can't answer for them, but appreciate it, my man. And you didn't even need to put that into you didn't even need to put that into a super chat, my man. That's very kind of you. That's very generous of you. But yeah, you could have just put that into the chat. And it seems like a lot of people have given you an explanation of some kind. So it seems like maybe you figured it out, but really do appreciate it, my man. You did not need to do that. Not need to put in a super chat. Top man. Appreciate it. Very kind. And also Ellie as well has come in here with one as well. And Ellie has said, for my man, David and Jack, you were the greatest. Let's see you as a duo. Come on, you Harris Army. Let's all be 100% vocal in the chat for our David. Love you, man. Ellie, I'll send it on to Dave. I'm pretty sure he's just kind of taking his time here. He's going to come back when he's feeling ready. He's going to come back when he's feeling his best, when he's feeling mentally his strongest as well, because it just was a tough day for him on the North End Derby, not even just for the 2-0, just for a variety of reasons. And so he's going to be back here alongside me when he's ready and when he's strong enough to do so. But I think it's important that he takes his time and he comes back when he's ready. It's not like when we're ready for him or when you're ready for him. It's like when he's ready, if you get what I mean. And he'll be back strong. He'll be back confident. He'll be back to his old self. And really do appreciate that, Ellie. Your words at the end kind of made me very, very kind. I think David needed that. I needed that. And it was very kind of you, Ellie. And this is also very generous as well. Thank you, Ellie. Really do appreciate it. And he'll be back. Don't you worry, Ellie. He'll be back. Thank you, Zoe. I didn't really know what to say there. Really. But I think Full Brazen figured it out. I think a lot of people explained it to him in the chat. It looks like, or Brazen Bull, it looks like a lot of people explained it to you. But yeah, I had a tear in my eye there, Tequila. I really did. Really appreciate you, Ellie. It's really, really kind. But let's bring on Chris. All right, Chris.
All right, Jack. First of all, welcome, Brazen Bull, to the Irish Spur, man. Welcome. And
Thank
secondly, we'll change, Jack. I've changed Tottenham's name. We're 1/2 Hotspur now because that's all we can manage. We're the 1/2 Hotspur because that's all we can manage.
I mean, it feels like there's no point in doing these. At first I kind of thought we should just start the watch longs in the second half, Chris. But now, like, we can't even do a full game in general. Like, you have to be there for the whole game because you don't know which half they won't turn up in, because they turned up in the first half, but then they didn't turn up in the second half. It's just too confusing now.
Jack, do you know what? I might start tuning in for the first 10 minutes on the first half to see how we're getting on. Switch off. Then switch on for the second 10 minutes on the second half to see what happens. Because that's the only way I'm going to actually catch a game.
Yeah. Chris, though, but I mean, let's be honest, like we're 2-0 up at halftime. Like I was losing it. Like it was because I needed a good night this week. I really did. I just needed one night where I could just take my mind off of it and just sort of feel like, you know what? At least we beat Man City. At least that's still the case. And we did see that no matter what, no matter how shit the form is, we can go 2-0 up, maybe even undeservedly against Man City. But we still found a way to bottle it afterwards. And that's we mentioned it at halftime, Chris, that there is the potential of it happening. But it literally happened. They bottled 4 goals. They conceded 4 goals. Like it's worse than West Ham. It's worse than, those games. It's the worst one I've seen.
It wasn't the fact that we were 2-0 up, I was laughing. It was the fact that Emerson scored that made me laugh. To be fair.
It's crazy when Emerson scores. Exactly right.
When Emerson scores,
something's wrong. There's must be something wrong with the universe, or there's everything is flipped upside down.
When you see actually Emerson score and go 2-0 up, you're thinking, "Oh, we're watching the same team." But then in the second half, then you come back down to earth and realize, yeah, you are.
Yeah. Feel it.
What really grinds me is our so-called captain.
Did you read the interview? That apparently he's come out with some interview where he's defended his form right now or something, Chris. Like I didn't want to read it. Like I just don't know if I could stomach reading it. But do you have?
The bullet points of this. It wasn't his fault that he conceded that atrocious goal against Arsenal because it bounced off his chest. It wasn't his fault that the ball bounced off his knee and went in the goal last night. So it wasn't him. It wasn't his fault. Apparently.
Apparently he's lacking mental freshness, Chris.
Well, how about he takes his mental freshness and sits on the bench and lets Forstikov come in and replace him? Because that's what needs to be done. Because Jack, on Monday, I don't think I can watch the Fulham game because I don't know how many more mistakes do we have to watch. I can't understand Conte's thought process of keep playing him when obviously there's an issue. The same with Son. If there's an issue with these players, don't play them.
Yeah. Is that where then people start to, because it felt like he got it right in the first half, leading up into the first half. Like he tactically felt like it deservedly 0-0. We luckily get 2-0 up, but deservedly, I think 0-0, Chris, for me. But these sort of decisions that he did go with originally, it's like he went with Hugo. Like it's like you blame Hugo first, like you and I have. You have to blame Hugo and you start there, but you work yourself up the ladder, right, Chris? And like you have to then look at Conte. It's like you're seeing what Hugo's doing to you. He's almost single-handedly like costing you your job. Like he could get you fired like off of these sort of mistakes he's making, and he's still picking him. And it's like eventually you just be like you're digging your own grave, Conte, by picking Lloris. It feels like.
I don't know what Conte said to them at halftime because they came out as a totally different team. They just came out like no thought, no effort, nothing. There was just like nothing there in the second half. The first half, it looked like they were up for it. The second half, they just thought, we're 2-0 up. We'll just go with the flow. We'll see what happens.
Is it like, did he even have then a halftime, like what happened then? And like, when he's speaking to them at halftime, like, did he just underestimate, them or like, underestimate their ability to fuck it up or what was it? What was it, do you think?
I think Conte's thought process is surely we can't fuck this up now. But obviously, when you've got the likes of Dyer in defense, and Lloris in goal, who's going to be a liability, obviously he can.
Can't be too confident.
Yeah, you can't be too confident. And it showed in 8 minutes we were back to 2-2 when we were back to reality.
He's still the manager, though, Chris. Stefan Bloy saying here, do you think if we lose to Fulham, Conte is gone? It's a tricky game. Some people thought last night was his last supper. Maybe Fulham is his last supper.
Conte needs to come out to tell us what he wants to do. All these mind games ain't working for the fans and it ain't working for the club either. It looks like the players are confused whether he's going to be there or not. But I'm not excusing the players' drab performances. If Conte leaves, it's on them. Because it's like the players are yet again the same Deadwood players that are throwing Poch, Jose, Nuno, all under the bus are doing exactly the same thing again. And the icing on the cakes was Winks' comments as well on I think it was on social media, don't underestimate Pep with a big thumbs up. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw that. There's no way that he likes that. There's no way. Like that's
He
the
did.
most petty shit I've ever seen.
Yeah, he did. He done it.
So
He done
petty.
it.
That is so
done it.
petty as well.
Jack,
what
what
does
are
he
you gonna
think?
say
He's
to your
going to
mate?
get into Pep's team or something like that as well? Like what
Jack,
is this?
But he's your mate, man. You should have a word.
Stop it, Chris. I will though. I'll have a good
No,
word with him. You know, I'm a
sorry,
little disappointed in
but
Harry.
we-
But especially it's not what we need, Harry.
We just have to cheer it up after the week we've had. It's just ridiculous. It's just gone from bad to worse, really, hasn't it? North London horror show.
I feel like
Kane
each day has
City-
gotten worse, Chris. Like it feels like each day I'm getting punched in the stomach. I'm getting punched in the face here with like even
Yeah.
worse news.
You get kicked between the legs with watching Arsenal with the Arsenal performance.
Yeah.
Then you hear that Kane wants to leave. Then you watch the Man City game, and then you hear different reports that we're probably not going to sign nobody in the transfer window either. Yeah, what a week we're having.
It's
And you know,
just getting knocked around the ring here, Chris. It's just like, you know, you're just taking, you know, left hook, right hook, you know, like you said, kick between the legs. Like it's just taking a beating here this week. We are.
And do you know what? To top it off, Jack, we'll lose. Do you know what? To top it off, we'll lose on Monday to Fulham, and we'll get trounced badly. That'll top it off.
Yeah, and also going away to, you know, Fulham. It's like last time we played them at home and we won, but it wasn't. It was a convincing performance, but it still wasn't made easy. But I remember some defensive errors. Like we made some bad defensive errors in that game that made it a bit sketchier than it needed to be.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Now that we're going to Fulham, like they're much more confident. Like they are, you know, that cottage is rocking, and it rarely is. And it's just, I don't know. It starts to feel like, you know, and this is sad to say this, it starts to feel like it, you know, we're going into this with no expectations, kind of like the Man City game. You know, the Fulham game.
I think any game we go into, Jack, now we have to go in with no expectations because we don't know what Tottenham are going to show up. Are we going to have a half Hotspur or we're going to have a full Tottenham Hotspur? We don't know.
Chris, what do you do here? Do you back Conte or do you go for the total restart?
I want to back Conte, but the board won't.
So then it's just like, but then if that's the case, then Chris, right? Like they won't back Conte. They can't do what then Rufus was talking about. I'm not sure if you heard what Rufus was saying earlier. He thinks what they'll do is they won't really sign many players in January. They might sign one, maybe two, and then they'll just wait till summer to sack him. They'll wait till summer to sack him and put in Tuchel or Pochettino. It's just if that's what they'll end up doing, it's more infuriating because they need to make a decision now between either backing Conte or just scrapping it all up and starting all over again. The thing is for me is that I don't want to scrap it all up and start all over again because it just feels like you're kind of giving them a pass like you always have, or like, you know, they've always been given. But I don't know. Like they need to make that decision as soon as possible, Chris. Like no matter if you want one decision or the other, if you prefer them to back Conte, if you prefer them to do a total restart, just something needs to happen like tomorrow. Like they need to make a decision on this. And also, if it's the case that Conte's head and his heart isn't in it anymore because Spurs have just broken him, like Chris, like let's be honest, like Spurs have broken so many managers. They've killed their motivation. They've killed their like will to try things differently. He's tried 1,000 different things, and it's just all the headaches and selection headaches they have to go through, all the drama they have to go through and everything. Like it kind of slowly breaks them down. And if Conte is broken, if he just doesn't have his head and his heart in it anymore either, they shouldn't keep him. You know, they shouldn't force him to keep doing it either. I don't know. It's a bad position we're in.
Conte looks like he's lost the will to live. He's thinking, why the hell am I still here? He's thinking, right, my contract runs out in about 6 months anyway, so let me just run it down a little bit more, and I'm gone. I've had enough. And you can see he's had enough with these cryptic clues, but instead of having these cryptic messages that he's sending, say it straight out. The board ain't backing me, and I'm going to go. Or say, I'm staying here for the long run, and I need backing. Stop sending the cryptic clues out. Just be straight up with us. But then again, I can't blame him for being the way he is with Daniel Levy, because the last time a manager spoke out about him, saying he was just a coach, a few months later he was sacked. So, in that respect, you can't really blame him.
when the fact that he also had just a pretty identical quote, I think today or yesterday or whatever it was polled, he said, "I'm not a coach, or I'm not the manager, I'm the coach," meaning that, I don't have a say in transfers. I don't, play as a pivotal of a role in those negotiations or in the scouting or in the, identifying of players to fix the squad. He made it very clear, like Pochettino has, I'm not a manager, I'm a coach here at Spurs. It's bad news, like when you start hearing those lines again.
Yeah, it is very bad news. It's like a flashback of, by the way, we sacked Poch. Yeah, we got rid of him. He spoke out of turn. We had to. But I'll tell you one thing, for me, the whole club is at the moment is in a toxic state from the very top, which is the owners, the board, the directors. Then it goes down to the coaches, the physios, Antonio himself. Then it comes down to the players, the ones who like, you know what, I don't give a shit. I'm getting my wages at the end of the week. I don't care. Yeah, sod it. We'll play badly. We can get away with it. No one says nothing different. We're still here. The coach won't be.
Is there a culture of that, do you think, at Spurs, where it's just kind of, I don't know, everybody's just sort of trying to preserve their stay as long as possible, do you think, at the club? Like, and a lot of the players included?
Well, how do you think Eric Dyer, Ben Davies, Harry Winks have all had extended contracts? Because nobody wants them. So we're just like the fall boys, like, yeah, we'll just give them an extra contract.
It's also as well, Chris, I mean, the fact that someone even in the chat the other day said, like, I can't think of many defenders that deserve a testimonial at any club, like, let alone Dyer and Davies, like the most underwhelming testimonials of all time.
The only testimonial they'll get from me is a testimonial to their taxi and saying, get the hell out.
Or they'll get an invoice for the taxi. Then
yeah. There's your testimonial. Yeah, you owe me for the taxi fare.
Exactly right.
But you're not getting a free shirt. You're getting a free taxi.
For the Fulham game, though, Chris, on Lloris, he has to save his own ass, I think, Conte, by not playing him. Like, he has to play for his Forster, I think, doesn't he?
He won't. He won't. He'll play Lloris.
But this is where I get upset with Conte for that, because it's like, I don't think it's his captain. It's difficult. Fraser Forster isn't a remarkable keeper to replace him with. But Chris, it's just like, I just think Hugo's starting to cost him his job. Like, I think Hugo's they live and die by results. They live and die by the results that they have. And Hugo has cost him more points than any other player basically in the Premier League. Like, what is it? He has more goals or more mistakes leading to goals than any other player, and that includes outfield players. So he's got to look at it like, in order to save my own ass, I got to stop playing Hugo.
See, the only other goalkeeper close to him and making mistakes is Alisson from Liverpool. But Lloris is the one at the moment. He's just making error after error. But then again, you've got another player on our team that nobody dares speak about because he's the golden boy, which is Sonny. Right? Now, this guy should be dropped as well. He's another player that's not playing in his way, so he should be not really playing. Just he needs to be taken out of the team, taken out of the spotlight. Because the more criticism he's getting, the worse he's getting. He needs to be taken out of the spotlight.
I think so too.
Because Jack, the amount of criticism Lloris and Son have got over the last few months, it's showing, and it's showing on the pitch as well.
Some people thought he looked petrified. He looked like a deer in the headlights, even in the tunnel. Some said.
Yeah. Lloris looked like he didn't want to go out there. He was like, do I really want to go out there? Because if I make a mistake, everybody's going to jump on my back. But he made 2 mistakes.
I could be reading into this too much too, Chris, but you sort of look at it and it's like with that interview that he came out with recently where he's defending, this poor run of form of himself. It's like with someone who's confident, who knows that he's better than this, like would he just probably come out and sort of admit it, like say, yep, you know what, I've made some mistakes, but I'm working on it and I know I'm better than this and I'll do better. You would feel like someone who's confident in themselves might admit, right? There is a bit of humility. Like if you're confident, you can also be humble at the same time, right? Because you know you're better than that. And so you just say that to somebody. It's like, you know what? I've been messing up and I know I'm better than that. So, I'm just going to turn it around from here. But the fact that he's defending his form, and then also the only thing he seemed to admit to was, lack of mental freshness after the World Cup. You're just like, that's not a captain. That's not a captain.
The problem is he ain't owning what he's done. if he owned what he did, a lot more people would actually show him a little bit more dignity and a bit more respect.
I think
The
you and
thing
I
is,
would too. Yeah, I think you and I
Jack,
would, and we've been hard on him, but you and I would.
I have been extremely harsh on him over the last few months, but it's still like, for me, the amount of mistakes he's making. If he can't openly admit saying, yeah, it was my fault. Yeah, I did it. I need to sort my shit out, sort my head out. You would say, okay, maybe he is suffering a bit of an episode from the World Cup fallout. But to say it weren't my fault, it's like he's dismissing all responsibility.
Yeah, it is.
But it's not. It's his
captains aren't
responsibility.
supposed to do that. Captains aren't supposed to be the ones dismissing responsibility. In fact, they're usually the ones who take on the responsibility, right, Chris?
Harry Kane example. He missed that penalty against France. He came out and owned it.
You're right.
He came out and said, you know what, I am sorry I missed that penalty. I think about that every day, but I still own it. I made that mistake by putting it over the bar.
Hugo did. Remember after he had those howlers in the penalty shootout, remember what he did? He made fun of like Emi Martinez for all of his antics. And like he says like, he was like, I would never do that in order to win a penalty shootout. It's like, why don't you fucking win a penalty shootout before you before you criticize? It's just, I don't know. That is his mentality though. He's just not, he's not a captain.
It's like his arrogance is overshadowed. His arrogance that he's won the World Cup before and he has been a former world champion overshadows the fact that he's on such a poor run and form. He can't face it. He can't admit the truth.
You're setting me off, Chris, because now I'm like, you look at the interview that he did. The interview he did recently where he's not admitting, to his poor patch of form. He's not even being humble about it. Like I said, somebody who's confident, somebody who's assured of themselves would admit that when they're doing wrong, they're doing wrong. Like, you know what? I know I'm better than this. I would do better. But the other thing too, Chris, is like, there's another example of that interview when he then lost the penalty kick shootout. And then he was making fun of Emi Martinez. He wasn't even being a humble winner or a humble loser. Like he was being a sore loser about it as well. It's just the mentality with him is all off. I'm sorry.
He needs to be taken out of the spotlight a bit because all this pressure on him now it's his own fault. He needs to realize that he's made the fuck ups. He's made the mistakes. Yeah. He's the one costing us results. Newcastle, Liverpool, Arsenal twice, Villa, Man City yesterday. What's he going to do against bloody Fulham? Do you know what I mean? Like, for me...
You're going to set me off, Chris. You're going to set me off. I don't know, my man.
It's like mistake after mistake after mistake. Just own what you've done, and then that's it. We will respect you more if you own what you did.
Completely agreed. But then I still have to... you get your piece with Hugo, but then you have to go up a ladder, and then you have to go like... Conte, like you're killing yourself here by picking him. Like I just think he is like he's hurting himself by picking him, and he's got to come to terms. It's a hard thing probably to come to terms with for Conte. It probably is sickening to come to terms with that like the guy who's his captain is putting him down like this or letting him down like this. But he's got to just got to realize it. He's just got to come to terms with it.
Jack, the thing is, right? It's not only Hugo that's letting him down, which is the thing as well, which makes it even worse. I mean, there's more than one player in that team that constantly letting him down week in, week out now, and it's becoming a habit. But he won't drop them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Sonny's a good example. Some people think too, right? Sonny should have been dropped or benched after his first half display, and
do you know what? The more the Man City game went on yesterday, the worse Sonny got.
Yeah.
It's like he didn't want to be there. It's like, you know what? I can't be asked.
Yeah. I think you're right, Chris. Help take the super chat with me. Take the super chat with me from the bottom, dude. He says Conte's first season at Inter, 36 goals conceded. In his second season, 35 goals. Conte's Chelsea in his first season, 33 goals conceded. Second season, 38. This season, 31 already. It's Conte or the idiots in the back. I mean, the other thing too is Conte is a defensive manager, Chris. Like that's where his money has been made. That's where his reputation has come from, is being defensively solid, being defensively organized, compact. But he also has been a team that scores goals. Like the bottom dude would agree with me here. His Inter side was like second, I think, in goals behind Atalanta. I think the other season they might have been third or first or something as well, like in his time at Inter. Chelsea, they were one of the higher scoring teams in the Premier League as well. Even this season, despite how trash we are, we still are like doing quite well for ourselves, considering Sonny isn't scoring, considering all the injuries we've had. We've been still scoring plenty of goals, actually, plenty of goals. It's just we concede so many. And is it like all of a sudden that Conte has forgotten how to play, keep a defensive line? Has Conte forgotten all of his defensive tactics for making a good back line? Like when that's basically his bread and butter, when that's where he's made his reputation? I don't know. Like it just seems hard to defend Dyer, Davies, and Sanchez and those guys, Chris. And you would give Conte the benefit of the doubt before you give that back line the benefit of the doubt.
I can't blame Conte for the defensive frailties we've got. You've got to look at the defenders we have got. We've got Sanchez, who spends more time trying to run along the white line than he does trying to defend. You've got Tanganga, who's the new version of Darren Anderson, just constantly injured. Yeah. You've got Dyer, who's not really a defender. He's more of an essential midfielder. You've got Longley, who, well, after yesterday's mistake, I don't even want to talk about him. I don't even want to talk about Longley. Right.
But this is what
then
people...
Then you got Ben Davis. Yesterday, I will give Ben Davis a bit of credit. He tried his butt off yesterday, Ben Davis. And Emerson Royal, to be fair. Right, but they're not defenders, these guys. You've got Perisic, who's now, you have to nurture him because he's getting on. And you've got Sessegnon, another trash player. I'm sorry, but what do people expect Conte to do with players like that? There's no rescuing them.
Yeah. It just, but what I'm sort of coming at it from, Chris, is like he's had brilliant center backs in the past to work with, and he's had different defenses in the past to work with, and he's made his, reputation off of those back lines. And it's like he comes to Spurs' back line, a back line that has never been changed or updated significantly, never revamped, never brought, competition in or anything to really challenge, the regulars. It's just been the same back line for years that has been recycled through different managers. And that same back line, as well as goalkeeper, have let down those managers in the past. And then it's like with Conte, weirdly, actually, I think, Chris, he's gotten the best out of Eric Dyer. He's gotten actually the best out of Ben Davies. He's gotten the best out of Sessegnon. He's gotten the best out of Doherty, in fact. So there are players that previous managers couldn't actually get a tune out of that he's gotten a tune out of. It just feels like that magic dust, that sort of that glitter on the turd that they are, has finally worn off. Like Mia said, the glitter finally wore away and they're back to their old selves. But we have to acknowledge that Conte actually made them look brilliant before. He saved their careers, it felt like, after Nuno. Like when Nuno was being sacked, we all wanted them to go with Nuno. And he kind of saved them, or kind of gave them that new lease of life, with the club as well. And it was like we're quickly forgetting that no one rated Eric Dyer or Ben Davies before Conte took over. Like at the end of Nuno, like we all wanted Ben Davies to go. We all wanted Eric Dyer to go, and those players. But Conte came in and got a better tune out of them than previous managers even did. But somehow now we're like, we're blaming him for the defense going awry and everything. I just don't get it. Like we can blame him maybe for, like we said, Sonny, Lloris, Jet Spence, those sort of things I'm happy to blame him for. Some of the things also as well, like, with how he comes about in the press conferences, he could do a bit better. But with this back line, like I am not going to criticize Conte for this back line and that goalkeeper.
There's one manager who I can blame for Dyer, and who is Jose Mourinho, making Dyer believe he's a decent centre back when he's not.
Yeah.
That's who I slowly blame, because Poch saw how poor Dyer was in defence, and that's why he made him into a central midfielder. He was like, "No, you're too slow to be in defence, mate. No, your concentration level's not there." But then all of a sudden, Jose comes in. Oh, he could be a decent centre back, and now you get rid of the great players like Toby and Jan, and then you're left with Eric.
Do you feel like the glitter has worn off, Chris? That conversation I was having with Mia in the beginning. He polished the turret better than anybody else. But I think that glitter, the magic dust that he put on the turrets that they are, it's worn off.
There was no glitter in the first place. If I'm honest with you, there was no glitter in the first place. The only glitter was the front players scoring those goals and bringing Kula and Bentancur in January. That was the saving grace for last season. If we would not bought Kulu and Bentancur in January, we would have finished probably 8th or 9th.
Yeah.
That's the realistic. We overachieved last season, and we have to admit that. This season's coming to fruition how it was going to be last season.
Yeah.
But Jack, I could just see us slowly falling down the table before we go back up again.
I don't blame you, Chris. I think a lot of people are finding it hard to see us climbing the table at this moment in time. And I don't know, like if we lose against Fulham, Chris, like I'm sticking with Conte even if they lose against Fulham, but you just feel like the board have to make a decision then. Like,
see, there's a comment here from Brazen Bull. Yeah, I actually agree with him on this as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, where we're saying, I mean, to try and get players playing out of form to agree, but there is a limit. He's right. There is a limit before you can try. You have to stop playing these players who are out of form.
Yeah,
totally agree, 100%. I actually 100% agree with that, Jack.
I just think, you know, with what Brazen Bull is bringing up here too, though, is this is, you know, there are things that I've criticized Conte for. I'm, if you will, maybe kind of sort of blindly to a degree, maybe ignorantly, if you will, sort of like keeping my faith in Conte because I just don't think he's the problem at the moment in time. I could just think he's the last of the problems at Spurs. And I also don't think any other manager will do better with Dyer, Davies, Sanchez, Tanganga, even Longley. I think, in fact, he's probably done the best that he possibly could. I don't see many other managers that would do better with that back line and the goalkeeper at the moment. So it's just, I'm sticking with him. But at the same time, like what Brazen Bull has brought up here, Chris, is like players like Lloris that he continues to pick, players like, Sassignon that he continues to pick, Sonny that he continues to pick. You do get kind of, you know, you have to take ownership of those decisions, even if they're really, you know, shitty options. Like he has to take ownership of those decisions.
Too right, yes. And this is where I think Conte has actually got it wrong, where he knows Sonny's out of form. He knows Lloris is not being his best. He knows Sessignon's useless. But as I said to David before, if you give us the workman shit tools, you're going to get a shit job.
Yeah.
Which is the ultimate issue. Levy is basically giving the shittiest of tools possible to Conte and said, go and work with him. And Conte's like, all right then, but you're going to get a shit job.
Steve D says, we've had more defenders than you can shake a stick at. You think he'd improve one. I think he's improved Ben Davies and Eric Dyer dramatically. I don't think actually that's my point, Steve D. Eric Dyer and Ben Davies, he's gotten a better tune out of than I think any other manager have, period.
See, yes, Jack, to be honest with you, yesterday, I don't see Ben Davies done a lot wrong yesterday, especially in the first half. And I'll tell you what, we went drastically downhill when we took him off and brought Sessignon on. And brought Langley in. We went downhill as soon as he took Ben Davies was actually one of the better players yesterday, which was quite amazing.
Yeah, he's the steady Eddie for us. That's for sure. But we all know he's just still not good enough.
Well, none of them are good enough. But as I say, we've got shit tools to work with. What can we do?
Yeah. Chris, any final words for me? It was a good chat, really good chat so far. Any final words?
Yeah.
Anything I should, maybe didn't let you say or anything we didn't get to?
Yeah, just keep your brother Winks in Sampdoria and tell him to stop putting thumbs up with things like that. and
I'll keep him off Twitter too, because geez, like that's triggering what you did on Twitter. That is triggering. And
David, hurry up and come back stronger, mate. We're all thinking of you, my friend. And if you ever need anything, you know where we are.
Appreciate that, Chris, my man. Appreciate
Jack,
that.
Told you, keep your boy Winks off with Twitter, man. Making comments like that, shocking behaviour. I was so shocked.
I don't know, Chris. I mean, he doesn't warn me of that sort of stuff ahead of time. He needs to.
Yeah, I know. I was like, what's Jack going to say about this when he finds out?
Oh, it's just I'm tired of defending Conte and I'm tired of defending Harry Winks, Chris. That's all it is, my man. Yeah. But
Jack. Well, I just want to know one thing. Right? Where's Paratici?
I mean, I don't know, like Chris, like, is he ever coming back? Like, will we ever see him ever again? And it even seems like that, the response that he'll read to the supporters trust, like where will he be reading it from? Behind a jail cell? Like it's I don't know. It's crazy.
Well, I'll tell you what, Jack, it's just a total mystery. He's just disappeared off the face of the earth.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he's
Do
the
you know
one
what
who's
it's like?
partying out in Lisbon trying to get the Pedro Porro deal.
Do you know, Jack? It's like one of those old "Where's Wally" books. You're trying to spot where's Wally. You didn't know, which is like where's Paratici? Oh, there he is. No, he's not. He's in Italy. No, he's not. He's in Portugal. Oh no, he's not. He's back in the UK. Oh no, he's not. He's back on Joe Lewis's yacht.
I just wish we had more of them, Chris. I really wish we got to see more of them because it's them making you think that Levy is in charge of the transfers, even though most people believe he is already in charge of the transfers. It just makes you think if Paratici's not around, then it must just be Levy, like going throughout the internet finding players for Conte. It's just, I don't know, it's not good.
And with them, no one knows where this is where the ultimate the ball lies. Is if Paratici just come out and made a statement before the end of the transfer window, we will all know where we stood. But the problem is, it's this statement that everything's going to be said in February when it's too late.
Exactly right.
Anyway, let's keep the faith and pray for a miracle for Monday.
Let's pray for a miracle, Chris, and let's hope maybe Hugo is in the lineup so we don't have to, be biting our fingers anymore. I'd love to see Fraser Forster, that's for sure. I'd love to see him. But Chris, good chatting with you, my man. It was a good chat.
And in the most quietest words, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. See you soon, Chris. Big man. Everybody, big up Chris in the chat. It was a good chat with him. Love Chris, and it's waiting very patiently as well. We've gone through a lot of people today. I think only just a couple more left maybe as well, everybody. So keep sticking along. Hit that like button. You've been enjoying the chat so far, but big up Chris in the chat as well, everybody. Good man he is. Michael Chan, becoming a YouTube member. Let me see. The link might still be up. I haven't taken it down, Michael. If you do want to grab in the Flat Cap member. Welcome to the Flat Cap member. Welcome to the Flat Cap Army, Michael. You absolute legend. Appreciate your support, my man. And it's a great way to support the channel with the memberships, my man. But also, if you want to grab that fan show membership, feel free to do so. I think the link still might be up there for you if you want to come on. But next one is KPV. KPV, you there?
Yo.
KPV? Yo.
Yo.
KPV. What happened last night, brother? 2-0 up. I think I spilled a beer and everything, KPV. It was scenes, my man. What happened last night?
Not great, 2-0 up. And then this goes and happens. They lost to us twice last season, and then they finally get revenge. Klopp, Conte has Pep's number though, but we got them at home in the week after. So, but yeah, Kulu does it against City again, as he did already.
Mm-hmm. He opened it last time for us. It felt like everything was going well, and were we the better team in the first half, KPV? It felt like Conte got it right in the first half, right?
Yeah. I didn't watch it, but I watched the highlights, and we were the better team in the first half. We finally had a better first half since the Brighton game. That was the last time we scored. But yeah, I'm still fuming. What, two back-to-back losses since
Hugo and two back-to-back losses. KPV.
This isn't working. What's going on in this club? Just sort it out, man.
KPV, King Huddle is saying you cannot have a keeper that inspires zero confidence in the fans when you see him in the tunnel. People are saying that Hugo Lloris, he looked like a deer in the headlights in the tunnel. He looked, completely like a shadow of himself, lacking confidence, all that sort of stuff, KPV. Hugo, it just feels like he's got to be dropped for the next match, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got to be dropped, but let's be honest, he probably won't, because Forster's not better goalkeeper than him, though. Better goalkeeper
he is right
than
now,
him.
KPV. I think he is, because Hugo's making such basic mistakes that I'm not sure Forster would make those basic mistakes.
I think we should bring back Gazzaniga, because Gazzaniga never made mistakes. Gazzaniga made 14 saves against Liverpool at Anfield, even though this season Liverpool won the title. We were 1-0 up at Anfield. Son hit the post and Kane headed it in, and Gazzaniga made 14 saves when we lost 2-1. But he would never make mistakes. I don't understand why we let him go. Should never have sold him. Gazzaniga is probably better.
I would take Gazaniga back. Probably a
I'd
better
bring
option
Gazaniga
than
back because Super Ollie T actually met him. So big up, Super Ollie T. I know you're watching this, pal.
they're
Like,
looking at
bring
succession.
Gazaniga back.
Yeah.
Daniel Levy, I think, is the one that sold him. But bring the guy back, people. Argentina. He's from Argentina, he is. And yeah, linking up with Romero, another Argentina player, would be nice. So bring Gazaniga back, people. If you want
I
him
like
back, give me a hell yeah.
Give him a hell yeah, people.
Yeah, bring the guy back, man. I
But we
think
need a succession plan for Hugo too, KPV. And people are talking about David Raya, that guy from Brentford. Some people want Pickford from Everton, Sanchez from Brighton. Is there anybody that you have? Who do you want to succeed Hugo? Who do you want to replace Hugo?
I'd probably take Dean Henderson because Brian Daigle and I've been saying this for a long time. He can become a great goalkeeper. Like David Raya, I don't think has saved penalties. But if we concede, he won't save them. So Dean Henderson saved penalties for Nottingham Forest. So why not maybe get him because he's brilliant. He can save them. Daigle said it from the start, and I'd actually take him. And why won't people stop mentioning Jordan Pickford? Like I've seen on Twitter, we are looking at Pickford as a replacement for Lloris. Like, yeah, Kane and Dyer know Pickford well, the England teammates, but no thanks. You don't want a relegation goalkeeper who actually was relegated with Sunderland and went to Everton. Like Mignolet kept them up, Pickford took them down. So you don't want a relegation goalkeeper, I'm afraid. No thanks. I'd take Gazaniga or Dean Henderson out of the two, but yeah, out of those two, I'd probably say Gazaniga because we bought him from Southampton. So
You love
yeah,
Gazaniga. I can tell, KPV. You love Gazaniga. You felt like he can. You can trust him. It seems like KPV. I can tell that you trust him.
Yeah, Gazaniga for me. Anyone agree? Then fair enough. Like I'd take him back because he was brilliant before the pandemic. Even though Hugo was injured, like the game against Brighton, even though we lost 3-0, Poch was the manager then, and we lost. Then that injury happens, and Gazaniga stood in. And yeah, as I said, I think it was man of match against Liverpool, even though we lost 2-1. But yeah, Gazaniga for me, man. Like Forster can't say pens. Dean Henderson can, but Gazaniga, like out of those two, I say Gazaniga because I know Brian Daigle probably want him as well. I know Ben Simmer probably gonna say no, but I want him back. Super Ollie T has got his goalkeeper gloves already. Like, if anyone wants Gazaniga back, then all vote yeah on Twitter.
Give
I'm
him a
gonna
hell
do a
yeah.
poll.
That's
Who
what
would
he
you
said.
take, Gazaniga or Dean Henderson? Gonna do a poll on Twitter later, so it better be Gazaniga or there's gonna be trouble, people.
You really love
Gazaniga only,
Gazaniga,
man.
KPV. This is hilarious. But what are we thinking, KPV? Like right now, we got to make a decision with Antonio Conte. Do you want the total restart? With Conte going, the players going, everybody's going, or do you back Conte still, KPV? What do you do here? Do you go for the factory reset, the factory restart, total restart, or do you back Conte?
Obviously got back Conte, but if he's not going to be back, then he should go like somewhere where he will be back. Like some people want Poch back, but I don't because Levy's still there. The only way I'd want him back is if Levy's gone, but he ain't going anywhere. So, but like people, I know Bob Spurs saying why Mason in. Like we had him when Mourinho was sacked 6 days before the cup final, and we still lost. Wine Mason again, the youngest manager. Like, he would be great. He knows some of the players well. Kane, Son, Dyer, Lloris, and all that. But Kulusevski, Bentancur, and Perisic, he would get the best out of. Like, Wine Mason, I'm not sure. But I wouldn't mind a guy. But back Conte, man, or it's gonna get a lot worse. I'm hearing there's rumors that Tuchel is interested in the job. Like,
would you take
wouldn't
Tuchel or
mind them, even
Pochettino?
though-
Would you rather Tuchel have to deal with Daniel Levy instead of Pochettino?
I'd like Poch back, but Tuchel, yeah, because he, I think he's not managed these players that we've got. Like, he's never managed these players, but Tuchel, I wouldn't mind. Like German, I don't think we've had a German manager. Like Stephen Ford was an assistant to AVB. Not he played for Spurs. Like talking about managers here, German manager. Like there's many that have managed, and you got Klopp, and I think he's the only one. Like, but Tuchel, like
he plays a I think a back three to Tuchel. That could make it easier for us to kind of use similar players. You know, we don't have to worry about making a huge change in formation or anything. I don't know. I'm not totally against Tuchel actually, KPV. I also think he's a much more tactically, how would you put it, experienced manager than maybe someone like Pochettino is. Like, because Tuchel, he did better with PSG than Poch did. Like Poch pretty much failed with PSG, like kind of fell kind of flat on his face over there. And so someone like Tuchel is maybe proven himself a bit more than Pochettino has. We all have a very special relationship with Pochettino over here. We love Poch over here, but maybe Tuchel offers that bit more tactical nous and experience than maybe Pochettino has at the moment.
Yeah, I think so.
But some people don't want the back five anymore, says Tequila. Tequila doesn't want to see a back five ever
more
again.
back five. Is that what Tuchel does?
Yeah, he does that back three. He does a 3-4-3
Oh my
as well.
god. Well,
so no Tuchel.
Like, then what other formation does he do? Like, that's the only one he does. That's the only one he does. But you never know. He might not play that. Like, but I wouldn't mind him, Tuchel. Like, he is interested, and he said he'd be interested in the England job. But like, make your mind up. Where you gonna go? Be the England coach or come Tottenham? Like, yeah, probably say Tuchel just for experience. Got to 2 Champions League finals, one with PSG and the one with Chelsea. Like the previous one, he lost to Bayern Munich, and then got to one with Chelsea a year later and won it. So, like, why not? Can't he help us get to this one? And then he could win it. Like, scenes. Like, yeah, Tuchel, but I know people want Poch, but I'm sorry, people, for the Poch lovers, the same thing will happen again under him. He'll just get sacked. I know he wants to come back, but let's wait and see how Tuchel will do.
You think maybe Daniel Levy has Ryan Mason sitting ready to take it over again?
Probably, yeah. But like, I know he's been a coach of the academy, and he knows some of them players well. Like
Conte likes him too, right? Conte made him his assistant or one of his assistants.
Yeah, and he's still the assistant, but like he's been the assistant since last season when Conte came in. Ryan Mason was still there. Like,
yeah, maybe Levy's got him on speed dial.
Because he was the assistant with Mourinho, and he knows the players well. But yeah, for me, I'd probably go Tuchel just for experience. 2 managers got to Champions League final. Poch lost, and Tuchel lost 1, and Poch lost 1. But
then Tuchel's also won one at the same time, right? The next time he was there, he won it.
I just said that. Like, he lost it with PSG during the pandemic, and that's because there was no fans at the time. Before the pandemic, there was, but fortunately, yeah, fans had to stay at home and watch it. Bayern Munich won it, and PSG lost, and yeah, Tuchel was sacked afterwards, and he was waiting. But yeah, I'd probably just take Tuchel. Tuchel edges it for me. But yeah,
what about Monday? Fulham. Let's talk about Fulham KPV. Craven Cottage. I mean, they're pretty happy over there at Fulham right now. They like their manager. They like the players. Everything's kind of going pretty well for them right now. So how do you fancy Spurs against Fulham?
Talking of Fulham, on this day 2019, we beat Fulham 2-1. Harry Winks scored the winner in 2019 at Craven Cottage. That was the last time we beat them there. But people remember rightly, we beat them just a couple of seasons ago as there was no fans. And Scott Parker moaning about like why Fulham's goal was disallowed because of handball. Like, you can moan all you want, kiddo. I know you played for Spurs, but moan all you want, kid. Handball goal was disallowed, mate. We won 1-0. Get over it. Like, we've got them at Craven Cottage because I think we've won there a couple of times and they've not beaten us. So, and it's the Clint Dempsey derby. Clint Dempsey derby, mate. He played for Fulham and Tottenham, and I wonder if he's going to be watching Dempsey.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
King Hoddle, first half, brilliant, but second half FC turned up in the first half, but first half FC turned up in the second half badly.
Yeah,
But
you're right.
Fulham, yeah, Fulham going to be interesting. Like, yeah, Mitrovic didn't score over the weekend because the penalty touched it 2 times and it was disallowed. But Mitrovic always scores, man. He scored in Newcastle, then he scored
Scored a
with these
worldie
lot.
against us last
Not
time
good,
too, and
man.
he scored
Like,
a worldie against us in the Spurs
I
stadium.
think
Really.
he always scored. Yeah, he scored a worldie. But Fulham's going to be interesting. I don't think their manager's never beaten us.
I don't know that with Andre Silva or Marco Silva. Yeah, Marco Silva.
Marco Silva, he's never
Yeah.
beaten Tottenham. Like,
Interesting.
when he was manager of Watford and Everton, he's never beat us. So,
Well, this is his best
Can
team he's
he
ever
end
had.
up-
This Fulham team. This is the best team he's
Yeah,
ever had. So be
Fulham.
interesting.
Can he beat us for the first time, even though he already lost in September 2-1, Højbjerg and Kane? But home, well, we're away. Like, we don't want to lose 3 games because we don't want that happening.
No.
Again, losing 3 games in a row isn't going to help. But
I can't do that.
Fulham, they're doing great. They just beat Chelsea last week or the week before. And yeah, they won only 2 London derbies, Brentford and Chelsea. So can they beat us? The answer is no, because they've not beaten us for a long time since they were in the Premier League. So good luck with that, Marco Silva, but you're getting smacked, mate. Kane needs to break the record, man, and
Yeah.
I want him to break it. He needs to score 1 to level it, but 2 to break it. So
I think he
hopefully
should level
Kane-
it. He should level it against Fulham. Wait till the next home game for Spurs, and then he breaks it. You know, it's
that'll
Spurs
be
stadium.
City at home. Yeah, that'll be
That'd
just
be nice,
a
KPV.
few
That'd
weeks.
be nice.
So
That'd be nice.
imagine he scores a hat trick against Fulham, then he'll go ahead. But I say score 1 to level it, then wait for the home game against City. Like, their record, I know, City's record at our ground is poor. They've not scored. Like, yeah, their record against us is not great at our new stadium. Like, teams always seem to beat us there. But Fulham, you're getting slapped up again. You got beat 2-1 in September. You're going to lose. And again, the London derby, you've only won 2. And I think Fulham is the only London derby we won. And but if we can win at their ground again, then like we still got to play Brentford home, as I've already said, West Ham and Chelsea, who are doing poor. But next Monday, gonna be interesting.
Gonna be
I'll
interesting,
be in the
KPV.
pub watching it.
Good man.
Yeah, I'll be in the pub watching it. Monday Night Football. I don't know how many Monday Night Football games we've had since the Old Trafford game. We won 3-0 there, and like that was the last Monday Night Football game I watched. That was So
Well, we need you
look,
singing loud and singing proud, you know, and we need to be taking down people in the Dempsey derby. We need to be taking over the cottage, KPV. Taking over the cottage.
yeah,
Keep up,
like
my man.
who's Clint Dempsey going to be cheering on? He's played for both, and but he loved Tottenham, man. His favourite goal was actually one he scored at Old Trafford, and expressions, and everyone asked him, man, I miss the guy. Like this, also Moussa Dembele derby and Berbatov
Yeah,
and
you're right.
Gazaniga.
Yeah, you're right. There are a few good Fulham players.
September, I believe Brian Daigle. Everyone in the chat, name Bobby Zamora. I know him as well. Everyone in the chat, who else has played
Sessegnon.
for Fulham and Tottenham in the chat?
Sessegnon too.
Sessegnon, Ryan Sessegnon.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's a good
think
one,
they're the ones
KPV.
I can. Yeah, so
Give us a send
yeah,
off, my man. Give us a
Fulham's
send
going to
off.
be, yeah, Sessegnon. Every Tottenham player's played for Fulham and Tottenham, but yeah, so, but we need a win, get back to winning ways. The last game was that Palace game where we won 4-0, but we need a win, and then so we need to win on Monday, and then I think we've got a break before we play Man City at home, because their record, as I said, is not brilliant at our new stadium. They've not scored because Son always scores at home and Kane hasn't scored at home against them. So let's try and get the win on Monday at Craven Cottage, and then win at home against City, because we haven't won a home game this year. So it was Portsmouth in the FA Cup. But so
Big one,
let's get the
KPV.
win Monday, people, and then Preston away. Then we've got City at home in the Premier League. So that
Let's
would
get a
be
big
nice.
one,
Get the
KPV.
win before that big game, and then who
Send me
knows?
the, give me the send off, KPV. Give us a
Yeah.
send off.
All right, everyone, and have a good weekend. And I'm off to play FIFA, and hopefully, yeah, get the win Monday, and then Preston away. Troy Parrott obviously can't play because he's on loan. So yeah, loan players can't play against us. So enjoy your weekend, people. I am, but
Thank you, KPV.
hopefully everyone can enjoy it. And as always, Levy out, back Conte. Everyone in. Enjoy. Come on, you Spurs. Conte,
Come on,
we
you
trust.
Spurs. And Conte, we trust. We'll see you soon,
See ya,
KPV.
boys.
Good chatting
See ya,
you.
mate.
Good chatting with
Bye.
you, my friend.
Yeah.
Bye, KPV. Good man, KPV is. We'll see you soon, my man. Everybody show him some love in the chat. Top man, the KPV is. We have a super chat in here from Dunkle Z Torque. Big up, brother. And he says, it's not about the formation. It's about backing whoever comes in. Young or proven players, it doesn't matter. Good managers know how to manage good players, no matter the age. If Levy will not buy good players, get a shit manager who fits his second-rate vision. I think a lot of people probably agree with you, Dunkle Z, but the part that I kind of want to pick out is sort of like when we maybe are asking like Conte to do a back four and like things like that. I get maybe the fact that some people think he's stubborn, maybe tactically and things like that. But to have him play a sort of shape or a formation or a style that's foreign to him, or that, you know, is just not him, that's not his style, is I think just an unfair sort of thing to criticize him for, because every manager has their own style of play. Every manager has their own way of trying to win football matches. And if his is different than maybe how you think it works, then that's just how it is. It's just how we all see the game. We see game through different lenses. We also see how to win football matches through different lenses. And Conte's has proven to be very successful, regardless of whether you choose to, you know, maybe discredit it or whether you choose to maybe call it negative or whatever it is. Like, his has been proven to be very successful over a long time period with different clubs in different leagues. And you would rather, even if you don't like a back three, even if you don't like a 3-4-3, he's made it work and he's made it be successful. And what you would rather do is just give him the tools to let that system work and let that system shine and see its true, you know, like its true power, see its true ability. But instead we give him like half of a squad or a quarter of a squad, and then we just expect him to tweak things and make players be able to fit that sort of system that really truly don't, that just aren't good enough for him to really be successful with it. And it's just it's a common sort of position we put managers in, where the system or the formation that they may have, they just don't have all the right players, or, you know, a confident core group of players that they can use, that they can plug in, that they know can play their system to the best of their ability. And Conte doesn't have that. I don't really believe Jose very much had that. And it just seems like Pochettino towards the end of his reign didn't have it either. And it's a common criticism that you would lay towards the board, that they don't give them the proper tools to be successful. Another thing too is just like, it's his formation, it's his style. Let him, you know, be successful with it. You're welcome to criticize him for it, but it's how he's been successful in his career. And I just find it that it's better just to give the manager the tools for his style of play or his formation than to just sort of make him, you know, twist and contort to be something else that he isn't. And he isn't a 4-2-3-1 manager. He never has been. And so it's better that we just give him the tools so he can be successful with his, and then we criticize him for it afterwards. But at the moment, I just don't think he has the tools to really be successful in the 3-4-3, and that's not his fault, in my opinion. Just not his fault. But people are welcome to disagree with me. Welcome to disagree with me. Big up, Dunkel Z, my man. But bringing on, I believe, last guest of the evening, or if Michael, if you are still listening, Michael, pop on in, because it will be the last guest if you don't pop in the next few minutes, my man. But here it is. Could be the last guest of the evening. Mark New. It's been a while as well. It's good to have a chat with him.
Yeah, mate. How you doing, man? Really good to see you.
Been a long time, Mark, and it's under the worst of circumstances, as per usual.
Oh, it's all happening. It's all happening.
Well, where do we start? Do you want to start with last night, or do we go to the bigger picture right away?
Well, I say in terms of things, I say first of all, obviously a huge big thank you to you and to Big Dave for creating a safe space for all the fans. So the fact Conte in, Conte out, Levy in, Levy out. It's hugely important having a safe space so people can chat and share. And I was hugely grateful to both of you and obviously as well the Harris Army for being here.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark.
Cheers, man. And if I say obviously in terms of, let's say, last night, where I am in terms of the whole space where we are with the situation, it needs, forgive me, needs a total reset, top to bottom, all the way through. I love Conte, I love Italians, I love the food, Conte cooking, I love all of it. I mean, I'm gonna tell you, I would love Conte to succeed at this club.
I know you do.
I actually love him too.
I know you do, but you just think it's he's just not fit for it anymore. Like they just won't give him what he wants. They won't give him the tools that he needs. And so you just kind of think, Mark, it's just go back to what we know, right? Go back to maybe a Pochettino. And also I know you want that, you want a more expansive football, Mark. You've been a Spurs fan a long time, and that's the football that that's the football you recognize too. Yeah,
that's true. And if I say in terms of Conte, I was reading a very interesting article on Twitter the other night that said Conte, he's a caretaker manager. And he's wonderful at that. For my mind, Conte is a racehorse. You show him the finishing line, you give him the best food, the best fuel, he will get you over the line. He will win you trophies, he'll win you titles, he will get everything. But he needs the right tools. And if we were a Chelsea with unlimited pockets, unlimited money would be throwing in there. We would absolutely storm it, mate. We would smash this fucking league. We would smash everything in sight. But not Chelsea. We're not the team. We haven't got those deep pockets. So I mean, there's various issues there. Partially it's the money coming in, and obviously what it comes down to, as well as my mate Daigle was saying, it's on the manager. It's not just the manager. It's on the board as well. January the 1st, there should have been a fucking New Year party at our fucking club, and the 2 VIP guests should have been Trossard and they should have been Porro. And that is not on. That's not on Conte. That's on Levy. That's on the board. The fact that Levy's trying to shave a million here and a million there to get the best price. And that is, and I appreciate that strategy. That's what he does. A leopard doesn't change its spots. Do you just like, Mark, you bringing up a really good point here, and this is something Dave has also said in the past, where when we had that World Cup break, we had a lot of downtime, right, at Spurs, and they could have taken advantage of that time period to go after Pedro Porro, to get the deal signed up for Trossard and things like that, right? It felt like other clubs were doing a lot of negotiating and kind of stuff behind the scenes to get their business done ahead of time while the World Cup was going on. Feels like Spurs should have taken advantage of that, right? There's no football games. There's nothing to really worry about other than getting Conte tied down to a new contract and getting some players in to back him for January, and they didn't do either of those. Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, in terms of things with the breaks, I think I was reading somewhere. I think also whether Conte went also Conte, because his family's back home in Italy. Possibly he took time away, was in Italy. So I appreciate there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes. But the number one target should have been January the 1st. We get those players in, and you leave it to the end of the window, and they're being hijacked. I mean, when you look at that club, when you look at them down the road and Trossard, I mean, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
And
It's
I mean,
also like, what did we bid? 12 million or something, Mark? And they came in with 27 million. It's a joke. It's a joke.
It's just, I mean, it's just, I mean, yeah. I mean, the whole thing's just really, I mean, yeah. I mean, I think I heard, I'm not sure it was either on your show or on We Are Tottenham TV. I think they're saying also they've announced a new complex is being built just opposite. I think they got planning permission or things are happening to get a new complex opposite the stadium, which it's great. I mean, the infrastructure supports the club. That's wonderful, but the money isn't going towards the players.
But it's also the timing of it, right, Mark? Where it's like you kind of don't think they should be announcing that sort of stuff during this, window. And like, I don't know, it's like keep it under wraps. It feels like, right? Maybe announce it in February, announce it in March or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in terms, let's say the other clubs, I think even say like West Ham, they bought Dawson, Craig Dawson. All the other clubs around us, they're running around, they're buying players left, right, and centre. And we are still pissing around. We are just pissing in the fucking wind, mate. There's just no. As I'm sure, the whole thing, obviously with Paratici, the Don. Obviously, this is really bad timing. The fact that the one time we really need him, and he's being chased. Whether he's under wraps, he's hiding under the kitchen sofa, kitchen cabinet. He's behind the sofa. He's overseas. He's saying, "Are you Parry?" No, it's not me, mate. Everyone says that I look like Parry. Not me, mate. It's not me. Whether he's on false passports, he's running around, he's out the door.
I need to find him. Because we need him as soon as possible, Mark, because we need players through the door here. And it's not good if we can't find Paratici, the man that can do it.
But the other thing is looking at the other side of teams who want to sell players to us. Bearing in mind the whole thing with corruption over the World Cup and financial fair play, all the different stuff running around, and you're a club who wants to sell players, would you be involved in a financial transaction right now with Paratici? No, Paratici know what's hanging over him. It's a huge big risk for any other club, and that's in terms of clubs who are financially strong and in in a very strong position. Half the out there are really, you don't know what's happening on their books behind the scenes. There must be any number of shit that's going down all these clubs. And even for the Italian league, the Spanish league, they're probably ducking for cover. They're diving. Paratici, he's calling them. He's saying, "Mate, it's me. Never heard of you, mate. It's not me." They're putting the phone down on him.
They discovered his black book too, apparently, Mark, which is the book where he keeps all the false numbers, or actually that's where the real numbers are. Actually, it's in the black book, and then he had fake accounts and everything. I know we're adding some humor here, but because we probably need some humor at this stage. Like, it's been very doom and gloom, but I don't know. And this is a joke here, Mark, but I mean, how can he not be a Don if he literally has a black book where he's cooking the books? I mean, it's just it's the most Italian, Godfather thing you've ever seen. The fact he has a black book, it's amazing.
Oh, gosh, there's always the things. But the other thing, though, in terms of the Don, how shall I put it? He's obviously been ducking and diving and weaving for how many years? But could well be, I don't even. I'm sure you've followed some of the legal systems out there. A lot of these trials, these cases, may or may not go to court. They may crack. Someone will say, "You know what? We'll do a deal." There'll be some deal
settle out of court
going on. And if anyone can pull a deal, that's Paratici. Pull a deal with Juve, with Barca, with Real Madrid. Are you telling me that some Italian prosecutor going face to face with Paratici, who is your money on, mate? Who is your money on?
That's Mark. It's like he's going to do a loan option to buy to prison, something like that, where he's going to loan himself to a prison for 6 months, then he buys himself out of prison or something like that. If anybody's going to cook it up, he'll find a way out. He'll squirm his way out.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. There'll be some clause in some Italian legal case
He'll
book.
find it.
He will find some clause somewhere that's maybe written. I just say Da Vinci's times, like 500 years ago. He will find it. He will find it. If he doesn't find it, he'll get someone to actually bloody write it for him, mate. There is somewhere out there. I tell you, Paratici. Paratici may be on the ropes, but he's not down.
You've given me so much hope that I needed with the Paratici, Mark. Oh my gosh. I hope Dave is listening because he needs it as well. This is a terrific call, Mark. This is a terrific call of getting all the hope. And like even Phil P says, he's dodging with fake passports and everything, but he'll find a way. He'll slip his way out of it. He'll find his way.
If I said maybe to come out a little bit to the game with Hitsi, I mean, obviously, if I can say in terms of, let's say, the blame, had Conte had the right tools at his display, had we had a decent defence, had we had Porro there, Porro should have been there for the North London derby. He should have been there. We should have had two decent defenders there.
Last night, actually, can I ask you, Mark, is it on Conte for how they capitulated, or is it really just that much of a circus display that it's just out of his hands? Like it's just, what do you make of it? Is it Conte's fault for, like, this is what I mean. It's like with Hugo, it's like Hugo really has been letting us down, but he could have not picked Hugo. He could have picked Fraser Forster. And I don't know, like, where do you stand on it? Like, how much blame, if we were to make a pie of blame for last night's performance, Mark, how much do you give to the players? How much do you give to Conte?
Well, if I say in terms of the pie, they need to make a nice big pie, and it's in three. There's 1/3 goes to Levy and Enoch, 1/3 goes to Conte, 1/3 goes to the players. My feeling is all three of them share equal blame. Whether one's more than the rest, I'm not sure. My feeling is all three of them are at fault. Levy and the board didn't get us the players in time. They are 1/3 at fault. Conte's tactics works 100% if he's got the right tools. But if he hasn't got the tools in front of him, and he's playing Sonny in front of Richie, for fuck's sake, he's the number 9 for Brazil, and he's on.
I'm with you. And those are the decisions, Mark, that you sort of kind of think like you want to back Conte. I'm backing Conte, but those are the decisions like that he will get criticized for, and rightfully criticized for. Continuing to pick Lloris is going to be his downfall. Maybe continuing to pick Sonny could be his downfall. Also, I think his reliance on Sessegnon, like he always loves to throw Sessegnon in there when I think he doesn't need to. Those are kind of decisions. They might be harsh to criticize him for, but those are decisions that are hurting him. And it feels like even those players themselves are letting him down enough that he's got to look at himself and think, I can't play Hugo if I want to keep my job here. That's what I think is the case here. Like Hugo is getting him sacked. At this moment in time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, exactly. I mean, the thing is, I remember I say in terms of in terms of, let's say, the watch-alongs, we always feel in terms of like moon boots. Where's the next mistake coming from him? Where's the goal going to be gifted? But it's not just him. It's obviously in terms of Hugo. Now, I mean, he will still make big saves. He'll make the worldly saves. He'll keep us in the game. But also he will lose the game for us. I mean, it's like I don't know if you follow in terms of let's say like the Olympics. Let's say in terms of the Olympics, let's say you've got the runners, you've got the 4x400. There's the runners coming through with a baton. But with us, by the time we get the baton, the others are halfway around the bloody track. By the time the baton comes to us, Dyer's, Moon Boots has let in a goal, Hugo's let in a goal. We're either 1-0 down, 2-0 down, or even in terms of our attack. If we have scored a couple of goals, whether it's like second half FC, we're still we always know we've got a big hurdle to climb with our defence. So our defence isn't strong enough, and this I think comes down in terms of the situation with Conte. Conte is a manager who needs players who are ready to start. He needs players who are ready to hit the ground running there. But our squad at least half, at least not the squad, the first team, half the first team should not be on that bloody pitch.
Yeah, I'm with
And
you, Mark.
they-
I know, I'm with you.
And to say to Conte, look, mate, do the best you can, but half the team is world class, or at least it is someone like PL status, with a few of them are genuinely world class, and half of them are absolute shite. They just really, yeah,
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
really just should not be there. And whether we should blame Conte on that, whether that comes down to the board, I mean, obviously they thought that Conte would work miracles, and last season he did. But I think the reason we worked miracles, because let's say we weren't playing in Europe, that was literally 1 game a week. The moment we put these players through 2 games a week, they are toast. Absolute.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Not got 2 games. I mean, in terms of the players, they haven't got 2 halves in them, let alone in terms of playing 2 games a week. So I mean,
it's so many things you said there. I completely agree with Mark, and in fact, apparently Gary agrees with you. The Italian prosecutor will wake up with a horse's head in his bed the next day. You never don't mess with piratry. Don't you dare! Love it.
Movie, bought the T-shirt.
Just 2 more questions here from me, Mark, and one of them being though is like, when it comes to Fulham, you know, they're confident right now. Like I said, it's kind of buzzing over at the cottage right now, and they're all on the same page. The fans, they're all headed in the right direction. They love Marco Silva. They're singing the Mitrovic song every single night, you know. And do you have any hopes going into that game, or is it just kind of like the Man City game where we're going into it kind of, you know, behind the couch?
Well, it's not going to be easy. In terms of let's say games out there, there's always going to be a bunch of games. We've lost two on the trot now, and I think the other thing is, I think in terms of with Conte, if he was to lose 3 on the trot, that puts huge pressure on him. Very, very difficult. Because I think as everyone realizes, the key game is going to be the home game with West Ham, because I think the fans are really going to be, whether they're going to be gunning for Conte or gunning for Levy or for both.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, so I think whatever doesn't happen at the Fulham game, and it's going to be tough. My feeling is hopefully the players can pull it out the bag, but it's not just on the players. It's a lot of it is also on Conte. In terms of with Sonny, I mean, whether with Sonny, it's the injury, the mask, he's off the pace. The only one time he has performed when he's come off the bench. It's taken the pressure off him and he's there. But Conte needs to start Richie. We should have Richie and Harry down the line. Richie and Harry just lead the line. The 2 of them lead the line. Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm completely agree. And also what I like about Richie too is I think he's hungry for it, Mark. I think he wants that chance. I think he's desperate, you know, to get that chance. And I think Sonny, as we probably would agree with, he's been given too many chances, if in fact, Sonny, and now it's Richie's opportunity to take it. And I hope Conte gives it to him. Also, we could go for something a bit different, right? We could allow Richie to maybe play a bit further inside. He could play as more of a number 9. Harry can kind of roam around and be able to pick him out. I like where your head is at with Richie. I want to see Richie play. And also even I want to see Hill Messi be given a chance too, because even we've seen Hill Messi play down the left. He's pretty good out there too. Sonny needs to realize he has competition over there, I think.
Oh, it's 2 saves, yeah. It's 2 saves, yeah. Exactly. I mean, exactly. I mean, in terms of let's say the squad, what we have is not a Conte team, but we have as someone who trusts young players. If there's a manager out there with Tottenham DNA who loves this fucking club and loves young players and will give young players their chance, we can run. If you put Gil Messi, you put Sarr. Bearing in mind the summer next day we got Dogo coming back. We got some big players coming in the summer, but I think also the second thing is people have said, obviously in terms of let's say the season with Harry, I think unfortunately we realise this is the last season for Harry. Once it comes to, but the idea with losing Harry on a free, just so that Harry can finish his career here, I don't see it. I really don't see it. But if this is to be Harry's last season, Harry will go out all guns blazing, mate. He is not going to go down with a whimper. If this is his last season, and I think realistically he knows it, the fans know it, a lot of people out there know it, he will go out there all guns blazing. And there's 2 games coming up. Obviously, we got the Fulham game, but obviously coming up, they got Preston. But the big one, obviously, it's going to be the Valentine's Day massacre. This is going to be the one with Milan. That is
Valentine's Day massacre. Oh, I love it. Yeah, oh, I love it. It's gonna be it's gonna be a red wedding between us and AC Milan on the Valentine's Day.
But I think, but say in terms of, let's say, with the Italian game, it's always in terms of, let's say, Conte, because Conte's never won Champions League. That is my feeling, is the only thing that's keeping him here. He would love to get Champions League. A huge thing.
So too. And I think Harry, like you said, will push us as hard as he can to get there as well, in case, even if he is going to. You're right.
He would go there. I mean, the only thing with Conte, if he would just allow even the Champions League games, get Richie bang up there as the number 9, Harry behind him as a 10, but use the young players, use Gil Messi. Whether in terms of with Spencer's still here, because obviously it's been really tough on him. And obviously Spence, he's not Bastoni, he wasn't a Conte signing, but he deserves a chance.
Yeah, he deserves. The Jedi needs to be released, and I know you've been asking for that for some time, Mark. I know you want the Jedi to be released. One day he will be. Trust me. One day he will be. Any final words here for the Harris Army before I let you go, Mark? I absolutely loved this call. I love chatting with you.
Well, I just give a really quick shout for my mate Daigle. I think he's on one of the, it's obviously, I know it's obviously on your show, other shows as well. He's got a big shout out tomorrow at the training ground.
Yes.
All Tottenham fans are invited, and I think there's going to be a big welcome and a big reception. So in different ways, I think people obviously realise that. But as long as people can keep their heads, stay calm, be strong, be passionate, but keep calm, keep calm as well.
Good words there, Mark. Good words.
I mean, cheers, man. If I could say in terms of, let's say, our backs have been up against the wall. BBC 5 Live, they're going to be taking the piss. Sky Sports, they're going to be laughing at us. But you know, when we come back stronger, when our backs are against the wall, we've got big games coming up. Fulham against the Cottagers. It's on their home turf. They're not going to back us. But I think, you know what? Back the boys. Come on, a big game against Fulham. But that is the one way to build us up. And I think the return game with City, we are not going to be the pushovers. We're going to come back, and that's going to build us up. But the big game, Milan, Valentine's Day massacre. Get your money down. If Shawnee's there, mate, get your fucking money on there for us to get through. I don't know who's going to be in charge. It may be Conte. It may be Pochi. I mean, there is huge karma for Conte in his what was potentially this is his swan song. This is his goodbye season. Conte and Harry running in the Champions League. It may be Conte, it may be Pochi. That's karma for 2019, and I think the fans would love to see either Conte in Champions League or Pochi. But we can do it, mate. Come on, back the boys. Come on,
come on, you Spurs. Come on, Mark.
Come on, you Harris Army. In Conte we trust. In Pochi we trust. In Tottenham we trust. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. See you soon, Mark, everybody. Great call-in, my friend. Everybody show Mark some love in the chat there. Absolute legend. I love that guy. I absolutely love that guy. He is an absolute joy, I think, as a Spurs fan. He has so many elements of, like, I think, the inner sort of, I don't know, the optimistic Spurs fan in us. It seems like Mark, he knows how to, talk about what's going wrong, but he also brings the energy and the optimism that we need. That was such a great call to end on, Mark. I absolutely love you, mate. I absolutely love you. But everybody, I think that's going to do it for today. That's the whole fan show. It was a long one. I wanted to have a good, lengthy chat with each and every one of you. If I missed any of you, I do apologize, but we'll be there for Monday as well. Don't you worry. Or Monday is actually the day of the game. So we're going to see how we're going to figure that one out. I'm not sure if we do have a post-match fan show. I can't confirm that or anything, but we'll have another fan show. I'm not sure when it will be. Maybe it'll just be the following day on Tuesday or something like that. But don't hold me to it, everybody. great chat with all of you. And thank you so much, everybody, to all those that donated, all those that put in super chats, as well as that kept putting in their comments in and bringing them up on screen and just asking people questions and just engaging with the chat. I feel like so many of you were really kind to all the guests that we had, as well as just being really engaged with all of them. And like I said, putting in good questions, putting in just good comments. Just felt like it's not good times, but it did feel like a good show. It felt like a good discussion with all of you. So everybody, I'll leave you there, and I'll be seeing you soon. I'm not sure the next time I will be seeing you, but I will be seeing you soon, everybody. Don't you worry. I won't be gone too long. Hit that like button on your way out, everybody. Come on, you Spurs. And in Conte, I trust.
Everywhere we go.